Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 276. Rita-san. While I was preparing for my next job, Celeste suddenly rushed to me and called. What happened? Rita, there's a dungeon master sighted in Plum Bum Dungeon. Can you go and defeat it? Celeste. I got it. Huh? Rita. Agreeing. I wanted to leave my room and headed towards the transportation room, but then I suddenly remembered something. What's wrong? Celeste. About the Plum Bum Dungeon Master. Didn't everyone defeat it without me? Rita. Yeah, everyone had a bromide and managed to defeat it. However, the use of bromide has been researched more and more, and that's getting higher, Celeste. So nobody is using it casually? Rita. Celeste. Celeste slightly nodded. I kinda get it. It's like when you have an elixir in a game, and you want to save it for an important boss fight, but ended up not using it at all and still managed to defeat the boss. I understand this feeling of not using an expensive item. Really well. I got it. It would be best for me to go and defeat it then, Rita. I quickly head to the teleportation room. Which floor is the dungeon master at? Rita. At the time at which I returned, it was at the 3rd floor, Celeste. Alright, Rita. Since we've gone through all the floors, I can just go to that floor immediately. After entering the room, the air around me immediately changed into that of a dungeon master being in the floor. Looking around, and found it. There were no other monsters, only the dungeon master. Ryo-sama is there. Wondering if it's just me, but the body and head of Ryo-sama has risen, roughly 9 heads higher. The perfect height for a main character in a shoujo manga. It becoming more cool is making me more complicated about looking at it. Rita. The dungeon master looked exactly like the drawing from Plum Bum. In other words, her drawing has improved once again. Oops, Rita. Ryo-sama noticed me, and held his gun. By the way, him holding it was also cool looking, as he held it sideways. Which is impractical, mind you. Repetition. Rita. I wanted to know how Ryo-sama would move, but then it would inconvenient the other adventurers who just want to earn a living, so I just defeated it immediately. However, my body felt heavy. Since repetition's MP depends on the strength of the enemy, this dungeon master roughly emptied my SSMP. Thinking that, I fired the infinite recovery bullet onto myself to recover my MP. Oh, the key, Rita. After Ryo-sama disappeared, it dropped a rusty key. I picked up the key, then returned to the mansion using the gate. Celeste was waiting for me outside the room. Welcome home, Celeste. I'm back, and I've defeated it. Rita. Thank you. I know only Rita-san can do it, Celeste. So, what are you going to do now, Celeste? Are you gonna head back again? Rita. Yes, Celeste. I see. I don't think there's anything to worry, but still be careful. Rita. It's because there's that dungeon master there, where unlike the other dungeon masters, this Ryo-sama can continue to evolve. This may be dependent on the mod of Plum Bum. Oh no, there might be a day where even the normal monsters would evolve to look like me. No, I'm thinking too much. That's impossible. Yep. Well, leaving that aside, since the monster might become stronger, it's best to warn Celeste about it. Thank you for the concern. I'll watch myself, Celeste. Celeste then returned to Plum Bum using the gate with a cherry blossom smile. Well then, time to head to the basement. Changing my schedule, I wanted to test something. To do that, I must first change this rusty key into a golden key. Walking along the corridor, I continued onward to the basement. Passing in front of Celeste's room, I noticed that the door was half open. She's so careless, Rita. Murmuring to myself, I tried to close the door by holding onto the doorknob. However, I could see something from the gap. It was the usual room with stuffed animals placed neatly, was what I thought, but that wasn't it. Like a doll standing there, there were 2 Ryo-sama standing in place as can be seen from the door gap. Why are there? Alright, let's just think of it as I didn't see anything. Yep, Rita. The moment various imaginations ran through my head, I decided to stop. I don't know why Celeste is doing this. No wonder she would know when a dungeon master appeared in Plum Bum, since she's been going there so frequently. Alright, let's leave it at that, Rita. While trying to justify myself, I closed the door firmly and went to the basement. Putting the rusty key at the end of the basement, I waited for the key to turn into a rogue monster, then defeated it with repetition. This time, the key became a golden key. This is the second one. I took out the first one from before and twisted both keys. Then, a door came out. The letter O2 appeared on the door. So I was right after all, that the mechanism increases the number of keys I have. The rest is knowing the meaning of this number. I went out of the basement, then shouted in the mansion, "Is anyone home?" Rita, "Yes, Disu tilde, Emily." Emily then came out from the salon. "Oh, you're here, Emily." Rita, "Yes, Disu, today's home cleaning day, Disu." Emily, "Is that so? I'm sorry, but could you help me test something?" Rita, "Of course, that's okay, Disu. What should I do, Disu?" Emily, "This." Rita, I said as I twisted the key. Then the door appeared. "Wah, that surprised me, Disu." Emily, "Could you enter this door?" Rita, "Okay, Disu." Emily opened the door and went inside without any hesitation. Without being able to say anything, she just went in. Then, the number of the door changed from O2 to O1. "Rita-san, did you call just now?" This time, Elsa appeared from within the mansion. "Sorry, Elsa, but can you help me to test with something?" Rita, "Yes, is it something to do with this door?" Elsa, "I'm happy that you know what I want." "Yeah, I just want you to get in. I've already confirmed with Alice that it's safe." Rita, "I understand." Elsa, "Check if Emily is inside as well." Rita, "Okay." Elsa, again, she accepted so easily, but she didn't enter as quickly as Emily did, as she gave some precautions. Then, just like Emily, she entered. The number changed from O1 to O0. Apparently, the number of keys equals to the number of people who can enter. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 277. The next day, I used the golden key again at the salon in our mansion. The door appeared, and the number has returned to O2 again. "Ooh, it's back, Emily." "Basically you can use it every day." Elsa, Emily and Elsa, who cooperate with my test yesterday, were being excited. "Seems like it." And for one day, Rita, I was inside there all day, Disu. Emily, there was a clock inside, and I couldn't get out without waiting for a full day after entering. Elsa, I nodded at their explanations. Since I haven't entered yet, I was only able to get information based on Alice and the both of them. But it seems that once you enter, you have to spend a day inside, then returning from where you placed the door. Also, one day inside is about a minute outside. That might be useful, Rita. It's really useful if you have a deadline, or if you're close to a deadline. Elsa, I nodded in approval at Elsa's words. While looking at her, I remembered something. Elsa's a worker from the dot, and our magic cart has a function that helps transfer our item into her office. How about trying the transferring function from the magic cart? I wonder if we can use it from inside? Rita, I wanna try Disu. Emily, yeah, let's see how it goes. Rita, yes, then I'll be going in Disu. Emily, you sure? Rita, there's something I want to try as well. Disu. Emily, I see. Rita, I don't know what she wants to do, but I'll leave it to Emily then. I gave her one of the golden keys. I'll get the magic cart ready then, Disu. Emily, after receiving the key, she walked out of the salon with her pitter-patter footsteps. We waited a while. It seems like she hasn't returned. Elsa, you're right. I think she's already inside. Rita, oh, you're right. The number has changed to 01. Elsa, we looked at the door in front of us. The number has reduced to 1. I see. If someone has the key, then anybody can enter from it anywhere as well. But is it also connected? Rita, it is connected. When I entered yesterday, I met up with Emily inside. Elsa, Fumu, then, one person can get one. Rita, I put together the information then I've gotten so far, and deduced the situation. If all of my members have one key, all of us can go anywhere, anytime. In some cases, we can gather together in case of emergency. So, it's better to collect keys for each and every one of my teammates. Well, I was thinking about it. A huge sound was heard from a distance. This sound is, Rita, it's from the office. I see, even if she doesn't come back, there's no point in waiting here. We have to go to the office to check up on the transferred item from the magic cart. Elsa, I agree, Rita. I nodded and went together with Elsa to the office. There, I could see Emily's hammer. The hammer that came out of Emily's magic cart was rolling on the floor. I'm home, Disu, Emily. After we entered the office, Emily came in a little late. No, it was almost the same time. That's quick. But then it's only a minute for us, Rita. Yes, Disu. I was inside for an entire day, Disu, but it felt strange, Disu, Emily. Emily walked forward, then took her hammer. That's true, even though it was only a minute away. But Emily has already been through for an entire day, Rita. Yes, Disu, Emily. Were you not able to get out using the magic cart? Rita. It was no good. The only thing that can go through are items, Disu, Emily. I see, Rita. I thought we could freely go in and out of it, but guess that won't work. No, wait. I'm going to test some stuff, so might I trouble the both of you to stay here for a moment, Rita? No problem, Disu, Emily. I understand, Elsa. I left the office, pushed my own magic cart, and used the other key at hand to open the door. Opening the door, I pushed the magic cart inside. Wow, Rita. I was amazed by how big it seemed to be. Over the other side of the door, there was no limit on its space, but there was a temple that was wavy. It was bright and warm, a very relaxing space. This feeling, I do know of it. Emily. Did she purposely come inside just to clean it? Rita. The first time I bought the 2 LDK apartment in this world, it was so terrible. But Emily was able to clean the entire room and turned it into a relaxing space. I see now, so that's her reason for wanting to come inside again. But still. She's amazing, huh, Rita? I was impressed with the sight in front of me. Oops, I can't be moved right now. Gotta do some tests. I stopped pushing the magic cart. Then at a place further away from the magic cart, I dropped a huge load of normal bullets there. Then, taking a distance, I waited. After a while, the slimes were hatched. I then attacked the slime with my growth bullets. Then, the slime dropped the normal bullet, and also a crystal. Looking at the ring on my right hand, it was a drop from the Nonium's Dungeon Master. Since I can use it to save EXP, I can hand it to others. I threw the normal bullet back to the pile of bullets, and as for the crystal, I placed it inside the magic cart. More slimes hatched, and I defeated them and did the same thing. It's going to take some time, Rita. I smiled and regained myself before continuing what I was doing. After Rita left the office, Emily and Elsa remained. While they were watching, crystals came out from the transferring device connected to Rita's magic cart. 1, 2, 3. It came out at a tremendous pace. Wow, amazing, Disu, Emily. Looks like Rita-san is mass-producing these. Elsa. I got it. It's an endless amount of slime and normal bullet, no, Disu, Emily. I see. He won't have more bullets, but he can earn an endless amount of EXP. Elsa. Yes, Disu. It's amazing how Yoda-san could come up with these ideas in an instant, no, Disu, Emily. The two of them who were waiting for a minute continued to marvel at Rita's judgment and his ideas. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 278. Waking up from my sleep, I was inside a room where the flow of time is different from the outside. Once you enter, you won't be able to leave until after you passed a full 24 hours inside. And thus I'm currently inside this room, farming for EXP crystals at first, but then I've gotten so exhausted that I fell asleep. Since there's literally nothing around me, I could only use my arm as a pillow to sleep on the floor, but without noticing, I've already fallen asleep. I'm sure this is because of Emily's effect, Rita. Since she herself went through the effort in making this area as comfortable as ever, the entire room has transformed into a place where people go to worship gods. And even though I was using my arm as a pillow to sleep, my body did not hurt at all, and all the fatigue in my body was blown right off. Well then, let's get right back to it, Rita. I stood up, then looked up at the ceiling. As what my friends have said, There is a clock over there. When you first enter, the clock would start a 0, but now it's almost over, and even after I farmed for the EXP crystals, defeated those slimes, and even taking a rest, it's only 1 minute in real time. I'm now imagining how much I've earned with all that effort, so I was looking forward to going out. The clock further tick, and not even a minute is left. Oh, Rita. All of a sudden, a door appeared. It was the door that disappeared when I entered the door, so I guess it appears once again when the time's almost up. Holding the doorknob, I twist it and swung the door open. What awaits on the other side is a room from our world. Sunlight entering the floor, and the shadows of the trees shaking from the gentle wind at a tremendously slow pace. With just a simple calculation, there's a difference in time floor of about 1,440 times, and as the clock starts ticking, there's not even 30 seconds before I have to exit. I better get out now. I do want to check whether I can go out safely, Rita, I thought, as I went through the door. And it was at that moment, a white thunder struck my head. It felt like when someone thought of an idea, where the light just goes Cupian. 30 seconds. That's the amount of time left. Speed up bullet. I took out the bullet, and I wondered, if I'm inside this room where time flows at about 1,440 times faster, what would happen if I fired the speed up bullet in that state? No time like the present to find out. I loaded the bullet and fired onto myself. I'm currently inside the accelerated world. The clock in the room has slowed down as well. Inside a room where time is sped up, I'm also sped up as well, which also means that the world outside is going at a slower speed as well. The shadows are practically stuck there, but if you look real close, it's as if you're using a slow-motion camera to film that scene. It looks kinda funny, to be honest. Rita. Something suddenly caught my eyes. In front of me, something suddenly appeared and disappeared from the door. I thought that it was impossible. That's because I'm looking at the world that has been slowed down by 1,000 times. So it's impossible for something to appear and disappear in this super slow motion state. It's impossible. However, if I look at it carefully and focus on it, there it is, right there. The something was flickering and was floating. I suddenly remembered. It's probably because it was always there, but it's just that I couldn't see it, and it's probably the first time noticing it, being in this double the accelerated world, and I wanted to know what it was. I watched and observed. The one time that it is constant. It's right there, Rita. Remembering that feeling, I grabbed it with a spinal reflex. The moment I grabbed onto it as it flickered, it became a clear shape, and that was a sword, an old-fashioned decorative sword used for ceremonies. Was it completely an intuition, or is it because I saw it before? In my head, two objects emerged, a mirror, and a jewel. The sword of Kusanagi, Rita. What I was searching for all this time, and it was always so close to me. The last key of Nonium. Is finally in my hands, although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 279, Level 1 Guy, Chapter 279, Nonium, 9th floor. Nonium, basement 7th floor. The mummy covered in electricity is roaming around in this floor. Flaming bullets are effective against these monsters, but right now I have a much more efficient bullet. It's the fused bullet, the flameless bullet. An extremely hot flame which can't be seen with the naked eyes, firing at the electrical mummies. I defeated them one after another in a labor-friendly mode, and picked up the mentality seeds. Repeating that process, I continued until my body instinctively told me that it has increased to the next rank. I stopped and checked my ability using the portable KIA 1/2. Level 1/1, HPSS, MPSS, Strength SS, Stamina SS, Intelligence SS, Mentality SS, Speed SS, Dexterity F, Luck S-. The mentality that has been capped at S has finally increased to SS, and with that, 8 out of 9 of my stats have reached SS. Right now, dexterity is left. It's finally time for me to head down to the 9th floor. Dungeon snow was snowing on the floor, and I could see huge monsters. Dragon, a body that's 2 stories high, and walking on 4. However, The body looks to be rotting away, as one can see parts of its skin peeled off, and giving off an incredible stench. With what I've known in Nonium Dungeon, all of the monsters must be undead type, and so is the 9th floor. And with no exception, we have an undead dragon here. One look and I could tell that it's going to be a strong and tough monster. But that's not there is to it. 3. What's that supposed to mean? Rita. On the forehead of the undead dragon, there was the number 3 written over there. Let's test it out first, Rita. Unholstering my revolvers, I used my trusty growth bullet and fired at it, wondering what would happen. And it was outside of my expectations, as the part where the bullet landed was blown to pieces. Nothing else happened. Was what I thought when the number on its forehead has changed from 3 to 2. I thought about it for a second. With all of my experiences thus far, ideas popped up in mind. That number is the number of attacks I can deal to it. The problem is, what happens if my attacks are over? Would I not be able to attack it anymore? Or would the undead dragon disappear, and there would be no drops at all? Or maybe it would just kick me out of the dungeon? With my previous knowledge and experiences, I thought of these possibilities. An attack which would one-hit kill it. Or see what happens after I use up my attacks. Rita. Concentrating, I gave myself an answer. I pulled out both my revolvers, and loaded 2 same bullets in it. Pulling the triggers, I launched a fusion bullet attack, firing 2 flaming bullets. The zombie dragon number on the forehead immediately dropped to 0. It is the number of attacks. And after that, I couldn't fire any bullet even after pulling the trigger. Wind gutter, Rita. I tried using magic, but it didn't work. I tried using my first, but the punch felt like it didn't have any force. So I was right then. Though I can't attack it, I can avoid it. While avoiding, I guided the zombie dragon to the flameless bullet, and damage it little by burning it. The zombie dragon was defeated, and a seed dropped. I prepared myself mentally, and held the seed carefully. Dexterity has gone up by 1. Alright, Rita. Immediate rush of joy came out as if restrained from my body, as I did a gut pose. The road to all SS is now doable, although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 280. Nonium Dungeon, basement 9th floor. In order to conquer this floor, I decided to dive once again, and in this floor, the zombie dragon is lingering around quietly. Compared to the other monsters I've faced thus far, the zombie dragon doesn't move around when not engaged in combat. What's more, the huge body is coated with miasma, so, inside such a silent floor, it gives off an unprecedented presence. Being cautious, I went towards one of the dragons. Mew, Rita. The moment I tried attacking it, it noticed me but hasn't moved. This is my chance, I thought as I saw that the zombie dragon did not move until attacked. The muddy body fluid shines, and it opened its huge mouth and into a biting motion. I tried kicking the ground to jump away, but the movement of the zombie dragon further increased, and it bit my body. The giant tusk sunk into my skin, and it felt like an entire body pushing into my skin. Rita. I took deep breaths, put power in both my hands and feet, then pushed the zombie dragon's mouth away. Hearing a cracking sound, my body stretched out and I was released from the bite. Dropping down onto the ground, I adjusted my body where my legs are falling down first, and immediately kicked on the ground to move away. Then, I saw, it wasn't a misunderstanding. The number above the zombie dragon's forehead was still showing a 2, despite me not attacking it yet. Does that mean, Rita? Confirming with what I've gathered, I escaped from the zombie dragon's presence. After running for some time, I encountered another zombie dragon. This time, the letter on its forehead showed 4. I did not attack it and started looking for another zombie dragon. Looking around, and checking the numbers, it was scattered. The numbers varied from a range of 2 to 5, and it was consistent. This is difficult to farm, Rita. I immediately understood how difficult it was for me to farm in the future. As I spilled my worries out, in a dungeon, it's important to know the pattern when farming. The simpler it is, the easier it is to reduce the time it takes to complete a round. However, the difficulty increases the more complicated the monsters are. No, I just have to find a pattern where I can defeat them with 2 attacks, Rita, I thought as I wondered for a while. Yeah, that's right, thinking that it was going to be difficult, but with the numbers ranging from 2 to 5, the smallest one is only 2, so having 5 would be a graceful moment for me. And all I have to worry now is to defeat them with 2 hits. Speaking of that I did defeat my first zombie dragon by using the fused blue flame bullets. Alright, should I try that then? Taking out both of my revolvers, I loaded both the blue flames inside. Time to fight some dragons, was what I wanted to do, but I noticed something. There are those with 1 as well, Rita. What I saw was a zombie dragon with the number 1 on its forehead. I was completely blown out of my nose. If there's a 1, then the flameless bullets won't work. Just to make sure, I fired 2 blue flames to create a flameless bullet onto the dragon. The number became 0, and the zombie dragon just stood there, taking no damage. Wait a minute. Repetition, Rita. I fired the strongest farming magic onto the zombie dragon, but that didn't work either. Though it's the strongest farming magic, it's still magic. Since they become invincible after becoming 0, the repetition won't work. If I think about it, repetition can't be used during magical storm days as well. I wasn't happy with what I've discovered, but it does bring my tension down a little. Anyways, I decided to run away from the zombie dragon since I can't defeat it anymore. Alright, time to investigate further. Thus, I went around the 9th floor without attacking the zombie dragons, researching about them. After about an hour, I've found out some stuff. First, the number count. As before, it is now ranging from 1-5. The most I've found were 3, and 1, 2, 4 and 5 were roughly around the same. Other than that, there weren't anything odd. In other words, in order to farm while brain dead, it's necessary for me to defeat them with 1 attack. Plus, the zombie dragons are quite strong, so to defeat them with 1 hit is a little. So the only way is repetition, I suppose. Rita, I murmured and sighed a little. Testing it on 1 to 5 of the zombie dragons, I used repetition to defeat them. Naturally, all of them were defeated in 1 hit. If the number's not 0, repetition does the job. Which means, if I want to farm safely, I have to use repetition. Then again I don't really want to do that. It's nice to defeat them with 1 hit, and it's very easy, but that's exactly the reason why I don't want to use it. It's only used if something major were to happen, so I want to avoid over-relying on it. Well then, what should I do, Rita? Not knowing what to do, I tried using various bullets on the zombie dragon. Normal bullet, freezing bullet, flaming bullet, lightning bullet, homing bullet, trash bullet, slashing bullet, triple bullets, and one final test, I used regeneration bullet on it. Even after testing it all out, none of them were effective. It's the same with the speed up bullet. Even within the accelerated world and attacking the zombie dragon, the counter still decreases. I avoided using fusion bullets as well, since it counts as 2 hits instead of 1. So it's useless against the 1 counter zombie dragons. Then, I tried using other items as well, and check the effects of each items. 2. Rita, one of the items which I have not used for over a year, felt nostalgic. Holding it, I thought for a moment, it might just work. Holding on to it, I stood in front of a zombie dragon. The counter is at 2, that's good. It's just a test, and I'll make it to 1 count just to save some time. Rita, mumbling by myself, I fired the speed-up bullet at the zombie dragon. You heard that right, instead of me, I fired at the dragon. Then, when the counter went from 2 to 1, the zombie dragon suddenly disappeared, and its entire body was rushing towards me. It started attacking me with unstoppable movements. Since I have HP and endurance at SS, plus I was on a guarded position, I could still endure it. I continued to endure the attacks. Then, the attacks suddenly ceased. The body disappeared, and suddenly the dexterity seed dropped. Alright, Rita, I made a small guts pose. The item that I used was the High Guts Slimes gem. When equipped, Whatever attack that is dealt to me would be reflected back to the enemy. Since it takes a long time, I normally don't use it, so I kept it away. But with this zombie dragon where there's a counter on it, whatever reflected damage does not count as my own, but as their own. So, since I want to test whether that theory was the case, I fired the speed-up bullet on it to speed up the process, and apparently it works. Although it takes time, but if I cannot rely on repetition, I'll be satisfied with this before finding another better way. I have to find some other way, Rita. It has been a while since I felt motivated to do something, although I am only level 1. But with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 281. Basement of the mansion. In order to test something, I came here alone. Special bullet. I wanted to know what sort of special bullet the hatched rogue zombie dragon would drop once I defeated it. There's no doubt that the seed would drop a new special bullet. Based on conventional law, it's at 99.99%. Using the pouch to collect the dexterity seeds, I released it at the corner of the basement. Oh, and by the way, recently I have been acting separately with Leah, since it was Leah the one who wanted it, and for some reason, she is going to Selenium every day. Well, she is Leah Selene, and it's normal for her to meet with the spirit. She didn't say why, but since it was of her own accord, I was happy that she suggested it. Therefore, I'm now waiting for the rogue monster to hatch. After it hatched into a zombie dragon. Repetition. Rita. Using the fastest farming magic, I defeated the zombie dragon the safest way possible. Since my friends are on top, I don't want to risk anything. After the zombie dragon was defeated, a new bullet dropped. I went close to it, picked it up and observed. The appearance is clearly different from the normal bullets, but I won't be able to guess the effect based on appearance alone. Then, I placed the special bullet into my revolver. Also, I've prepared a test subject beforehand, which is a bean sprout. After leaving it where I placed the seed, I waited for it to hatch. The moment the slime was hatched, I aimed at it with the new bullet and fired in the middle. The bullet just flew towards the slime, defeated it, and it dropped a normal bullet. Is that two? Rita. What dropped was 2 normal bullets. Just in case, I hatched another slime and fired it with a growth bullet. Only 1 bullet dropped. So the results are clear, since there has never been 2 drops of any bullets so far. So this special bullet doubles a drop. Unlike the speed-up bullet or the recovery bullet, the effect of this bullet is easily understandable when firing it at an opponent. However, in order to verify it in more detail, I changed all of my remaining seeds into the special bullet using repetition, and this time, I went to a dungeon using the transportation room. Tararu first floor, my home ground. With so many adventurers in this floor, I found a slime who's unoccupied, and fired at it with the special bullet. The bean sprouts drop twice as usual. Wow, what's that? Does the slime always drop that much? No, that's because it's Rita-san. That's why. The adventurers who witnessed the scene were amazed. With my drop S, doubling the drop is really an incredible feat. Compared to the average drop of C from most adventurers, this drop is roughly 10 times of that. It's no wonder they're surprised. Welp, guess I'm done testing over here as well. Thus, I went back to the mansion using the gate, and went to various other dungeons where I have been. I defeated the monsters over there with the new special bullet. Vegetables, meats, minerals. Every drop doubled when using the bullet. Also, thanks to Emily's monthly farm, the drop rate for arsenic has quadrupled. And since the bullet gives double the drop went 4 times. Furthermore, the firepower of this bullet weak, similar to a normal bullet. Besides that, it does what it does. It's strong. But isn't it a little strange? I wonder. While testing it on Plumbum Dungeon, the air suddenly changed. It felt like a dungeon master is around. Suddenly, a bullet was shot at the place where I stood. The murderous intent came close to me without me noticing. While dodging the opponent's attack, I looked at him. Dungeon Master, Ryo-sama. As usual, the occurrence of a dungeon master here is higher compared to the other dungeons out there. It's 10 times as frequent once every few days. Wanting to end it quickly, I wanted to pull the trigger on it. Wait, Rita, I noticed my failure. The new special bullet is in the revolver, although the drop would double. But the power is only a normal bullet. It's clearly insufficient to defeat the dungeon master. And just to test it, the bullet hit, but it did not do much damage. Then, Ryo-sama was ready for his next attack. What a waste, was what I thought when, it dropped? Rita, I was so surprised that I let out my voice. It was supposed to be impossible. But, when the bullet hits, the rusted key dropped. Don't tell me. Rita, my brain was processing at a high speed, and a conclusion was reached. I fired Ryo-sama with all of my new special bullets. Since I have 4 left, I fired them all, and 4 rusted keys dropped. Ryo-sama, who didn't take much damage, continued attacking. Ignoring him, I picked up the keys. So the effect doesn't double the drop, but forces a drop. So its effect is similar to that of ? Rita. If that were the case, even if a rare monster appears, I can just mass produce the item by attacking it. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 282. Inside the basement of my mansion, I stood there and stared at the new bullet that was on the palm of my hand. Thinking of the effects of the bullet once again, I thought of naming it Forced Drop Bullet, as it shortens the time it takes to get a drop for me, in a sense. As the name suggests, every time you fire this bullet at a monster, it will drop the item of said monster at a drop basis. The item will drop once regardless of whether the monster is defeated or not, which means that whoever uses this bullet can get a guaranteed drop from any monster, and because of that, I thought of a very good way of using it, which is to farm for rare monster drops. And because of that, I took out a rusted key from within my pocket. Sorry, make that 7 keys. It's the drop that I've gotten from the dungeon master, Ryo-sama, when I was testing the new bullet out. Basically, I fired 6 bullets at it plus the final blow to it, which adds up to 7 keys. Since Ryo-sama appears at an often rate, these 7 keys are just what I've gotten when testing it out. Let's take an example when the dungeon master of Salon, the bicorn, were to appear. If I can fire with the drop bullet, changed 100 times, I would have 100 of the bicorn's horn at a short amount of time. And with that thinking in mind, this bullet is extremely useful when encountering rare monsters. So, because I have this drop bullet right now, this would solidify how I start my fights. While thinking really hard about whether I've missed anything crucial, I changed all 7 rusted keys to golden keys via repetition, then left the basement. Looking out into the window, it's almost evening, which means my friends are about to come home. Once they're back, I'm gonna give each one of them this key. Oh, I can hear someone humming somewhere. Pinpointing where the humming is coming at, I headed to it and I could see the back of Emily inside the kitchen. Oh. Rita. Welcome back Nano Desu? Emily, noticing my presence, she turned around and greeted me. The 130-centimeter girl with an apron on inside a kitchen was heavenly to look at. Even after living for a year plus, it's still hard to look away from her. Yoda-san, what seems to be the matter Desu? Emily, it's nothing. Just. Rita, almost speaking out my feelings, I paused for a moment and thought of what to say. The way you handle a kitchen knife is amazing. Rita, thank you Nano Desu. Emily, with a sweet and happy smile, she turned around again. Then, she started chopping the cabbage on the chopping board with the kitchen knife, chopping it ever so elegantly. You're a master at this. Rita, again while looking at it, I spoke my feelings out. Though she wasn't chopping it particularly quick, but the way she cuts it was perfect, where it would slowly fall at a perfect shape, and easily swooped into the bowl next to the chopping board. It's as if she was in a battle manga, holding the sword silently, with a clear mind. With movements that looked to be years and years of experience, she continued to chop the cabbage. Thanks again for always cooking for us. Rita, don't mind, I love cooking anyways Nano Desu. Emily, I see, thanks anyways. Rita, while smiling with a look, she started preparing the potatoes. It's potatoes this time. Rita, yes Desu, I've just received these fresh potatoes from earlier Nano Desu. Emily, when you mean you received them, Does that mean you've gotten it yourself? Rita, I remembered what happened during breakfast. It's not per se a regular report, but we'll always do a short announcement on where we're going after breakfast. So, none of us said that we're heading to get some potatoes at all. Yes, Disu, I wanted to make it for everyone, so I went and got it from the parent-child slimes, Disu. Emily, after she said that, she smiled with a slightly troubled face. I have to become stronger now, no Desu. If we have more friends, then we won't have enough food for everyone, so I have to train so that I can defeat a hard monster like the parent-child slime, Desu. Emily. Right, it was that kind of monster. Rita. The 6th dungeon of Tururu Dungeon, the parent-child slime. Though it has the name, parent and child on it, it's actually just one monster. In order to increase your drops, you'll have to first defeat the child, then lastly defeat the parent of the slime. But, the more child there is, the higher the defense of the parent. Mew? Rita. What's wrong, Yoda-san? Emily. Rita. Yoda-san? Emily. Emily tilted her small head in response to my silence. While not responding to her, I had a revelation in my head. After having said revelation, my body suddenly jumped and I ran out of the kitchen. Yoda-san? Emily. Emily too chased after me, where we headed to the transportation room. Using the gate, I went to the 6th floor of Tururu with my magic cart. Inside the dungeon, there were lots of adventurers, and also the slimes. Then, catching hold of one of the slimes, I engaged in a battle with it. First, I used my growth bullet to defeat all of the child slimes, which made the parent slime's defense at a maximum. Next, I used the restraint bullet to restrict the slime's movements. Then, pushing my magic cart, I headed straight and parked beside it. Taking out both of my revolvers, I fired at point-blank range. Both the bullets I fired were the drop bullet and the recovery bullet. When the drop bullet hit, it doesn't defeat it, but it still drops a huge ton of potatoes, then, recovering it so it doesn't lose health. I continued this cycle, and with that, huge loads of potatoes were loaded into the magic cart and transported to the mansion. Yoda-san. Wait just a moment, no Desu. Emily. Emily, why are you here? Rita. Suddenly, Emily stopped me from the cycle. Since she was hastily trying to catch me, she was still wearing her apron. Since I was farming at an extreme rate, even Elsa, who was working on sorting the items, couldn't keep the pace. This might be the first time I was satisfied with my inspirations. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 283. I'll be in your care from today. During the day inside the mansion, at the branch office. The girl who has the same uniform as Elsa, Ina, joins the roster. While bowing, she spoke in a rather polite manner. However, the moment she lifts her head up, it's back to her usual self. Aren't you amazing, Rita-san? To the point that you need to exclusive assistant. You happy? Hey, are you happy about it? Ina. While getting close to me, she used her elbow to nudge my hands. I don't know whether I'm happy, as I still do not fully understand the situation yet. Rita. This morning, after I was done with breakfast, I wanted to leave to a dungeon when suddenly she visited. Then she started saying, I'll be in your care and are you happy? All out of a sudden. I don't even know how to react at this point. Don't you know? You were simply amazing yesterday. Ina. Yesterday? Rita. While smiling bitterly, I head towards Elsa and bowed at a 90-degree angle. I'm sorry, you had a rough time yesterday, right? Rita. And no, that's not it. Elsa. Nah, you didn't. In fact, you did a fantastic job as well. You should have seen her. She was drowning in a sea of potatoes. Ina. While feeling bad, I bowed down once again. Since we needed to help Elsa, I came from the main branch to sort things out for her. You know, everyone was shocked that their mouths were open when they heard about it. I was impressed that only Rita-san could do such a thing that I sighed and ascended into heaven. Ina. What the heck is with that last sentence? Well, she's just exaggerating as usual. So is it confirmed that you're gonna be helping Elsa out? Rita. Well, we did have a talk about adding another person to help her out previously. Ina. Then, Ina winked at me and Amy. She never changed, huh? Is that so? Rita, even though Elsa alone is enough to do the job at a daily basis. But look at what you did, Rita-san. Now she can't handle that much, you know? Ina. You're right. Rita, since I'm reflecting on what I've done, I can only bitterly smile and nod at what she's saying. Yes, I have many non-daily events. Whenever there's something happening, I would dive straight in. Whatever request from Sal, I'll do it. Or when there are people in need, I would go and help them. So as what Tina has said, I do a lot of odd jobs. And that's why, when this kind of thing were to happen, we need another person to come and handle things as well, just like what has happened yesterday. Ina, I bitterly smiled again. Within seconds, I sent in tens of kilos of potatoes to the mansion, like winning a jackpot on a slot machine, where the coins be rolling out like crazy. Imagining it makes me a little happy. So, I'll be joining the party as of today. Ina, I see, but then, why must it be Ina? Rita, eh? Rita, Ina was seriously shocked at what I asked. Since I'm always sent to various places whenever something happens, so I'm always moving around a lot. Rita, well. I wonder. Ina, for some reason Ina couldn't say anything, and averted her eyes away from me, thinking that it was strange. I pushed on further. I think that is a rather large company, so isn't it strange that they specifically sent you to help me? Rita, that is ... you know. Ina. Rita, I further inquired, and it was hard for her to respond. Alright, that's because you've always been helping out my family. Ina, it's as though she suddenly thought up of an excuse to say, I see, it's alright even if I don't know. What's more, Ina, she suddenly spoke again, and her stuttered self vanished. She suddenly smiled devilishly. Since I've met you many times before, it's easier for you to have someone familiar to handle things, right? Ina, that's true. Rita, as someone who I know besides Elsa that person would be Ina. If you think about it, she is suitable for the job as she's a friend of Elsa as well. Hey! Stop lying already, Ina. Elsa, huh? What did you just say, Elsa? Rita, nothing at all. Elsa, I see? Rita, well, if it's nothing then that's great. Well then ... if that's the case, I went to the entrance of the branch office and shouted, Emily, are you there? Rita, after calling out, I heard a cute I'm here to ... then soon after a pitter-patter sound coming closer. Hey, what do you mean by me lying? Ina, a liar's a liar, I know it. Elsa, what are you even saying? Ina, I don't like the way you're tricking him, even though I don't blame you. Elsa, it's subtle, but I guess you're right. Ina, I got it. Elsa and Ina were both talking behind me, and I guess they're done talking. Since they're friends, I'm sure they're just catching up on some stuff, so I didn't pay much attention to what they're saying. After a while, Emily arrived, and I asked her to prepare a room for Ina. It's important to give her her own personal space after all. Oh right, Ina, can you wait here for a while? Ina, that's okay, but what's up? Ina, just wait and see. Rita, I asked her to wait for a moment, and I dashed out of the office. Going down to the basement, I used the drop bullet to get myself another golden key. Then returning back to the office, I handed Ina the key, who was making a fox-like expression. Here you go. Rita, this is? Ina, I'll explain to you later, but think of it as a master key of some sort. Rita, okay. Ina, for some reason, her face was slightly red and confused. I can't believe it leveled up from here. Elsa looked amazed from the side. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 284. Morning. After waking up and exiting my room, I came across Ina on the way. When she saw me, she had an awkward expression with her face slightly reddish. Morning. Ina, morning. So you stayed over? Rita, yeah, I wanted to come over at first, but, Ina, as she was talking halfway, she stopped and looked around. This place is so bright, and it gives off a warm feeling inside of me, so it had me wanting to stay here for the night. How do I put it? Like once I entered, There's this magical force preventing me from exiting kind of feeling. Ina, I know, right? Rita, wah. Ina was shocked at my sudden excitement. This is all thanks to Emily, you know. The moment you stay inside a house that is revamped by Emily, you'll be addicted to never want to stay at any other place anymore. Rita. I see, Ina. As she said that, she continued walking out of the corridor. By the way, are those rumors true? Ina, what kind of rumors? Rita, like the Tururu dungeon was so clean to the point that you were sleeping together with slimes. Ina, well yeah, that's true. Rita, this was quite a while ago, when I first met with Emily in the dungeon, and we were staying inside for a moment. Even I was shocked when the slimes were surrounding Emily and was sleeping together. At that time, I thought that she was the dungeon master of that dungeon or something, when I didn't know about the true meaning of what a dungeon master is. Wow, that's amazing. Ina, it is. I still remembered complimenting her like crazy, so to me I feel that Emily is the most incredible person I'd ever known in my life. Rita. I kinda understand what you mean by that. The reason why Rita-san can have such an incredible performance is because you have an incredible place to go back to. Ina, exactly. Rita, I was getting even more excited. Ina then suddenly said, "Oh right," and turned her body towards me. And with that, "I want to stay here, so please take care of me, okay, Ina," she said and bowed. And thus she is going to stay with us. Nonium, 9th floor. While going around defeating the zombie dragons, I was trying to figure out the most optimized route to farm. This isn't going as planned. Rita, I could defeat it quickly if it's 2 hits like the first time I fought against them, where I used the invisible blue flame to defeat them. But no matter how strong that bullet is, it can only defeat those zombie dragons with counters 2 or more. If there's any with 1 counter, then it's impossible. This is really difficult. There's a 99? Rita, in front of me was a freshly spawned zombie dragon, with the number on its forehead that reads 99. I thought that there was only numbers from 1-5. After coming here for several days, defeating several hundreds of them, this is my first time ever meeting a zombie dragon with a counter of 99. This tells me that it's a 1% chance of encountering it, which means, it's a rare monster then. Rita, even I was extremely excited with this encounter. I took out my gun, and used some normal bullet for a test, and obviously the counter went down. This in turn aggroed the zombie dragon, where it swung its tails, and used its nails to scratch me. It's an attack that I'm familiar with, and a style that's no different from the previous zombie dragons that I've fought. So it's the same as the other zombie dragons? Repetition. Rita, to test whether it's the same, I used repetition and it was defeated. Since it's able to be defeated by my magic, it means that it's the same as any other zombie dragons. Bummer. I thought that since it has a counter of 99, it would be different from was what I thought, but nay, it wasn't. What's different was that a staircase going down appeared. It's about time. Rita, I knew it was going to happen eventually, but I didn't expect it to happen that quickly. I took some deep breaths, then proceeded down. As usual, everywhere was white in the room, and there's a room before I can enter the spirit's room. And in that room where I was at, there's a huge block in the middle. Instead of calling it a block, it looks more like an actual building. It's about 5 meters in diameter, and the materials used makes me uncomfortable to look at, as the material looks like a pulsating meat. In terms of a game, the block looks like a living chunk of meat, where there's internal organs inside that block. However, it was all rotten, like a zombie-like meat. It gave me the feel of destroying it, like every other monster I've faced in Nonium. I started my attack by firing at it with the flaming and freezing bullet, which fused and turned into an annihilation bullet. It hit, but nothing happened. It did absolutely 0 damage to that chunk of meat. I tired firing all my other bullets, approached it even and tried hitting it, kicking it and pushing it with my full power. However, nothing works. It didn't feel like I even caused a dent on it. The meat mass is completely intact, and it keeps on pulsating irregularly. Somehow, something felt weird. It's different from any other monsters I've faced. No matter what I did with any straightforward attack, It won't work. Then, about halfway around the meat chunk, there was something like a KIA board stuck onto it. Rita. While being cautious, I tried operating that KIA board. 1/2 level. HP, IP, strength, endurance, intelligence, mentality, speed, dexterity, luck. It was my usual status. Then suddenly, the board shone. HP, the first part of the number shone. Then, as if responding to that, the meat chunk started cracking. IP, the second status shone, and another layer of the chunk started cracking. Everything was the same for the other statuses. However, when it came to the next part, dexterity, when that happened, the meat chunk didn't crack. Then the KIA board and the meat chunk disappeared. What was left was an empty room. I see how it is. Rita. So there was a gimmick to this, and it was actually that simple. I first need to collect the 3 items, the mirror, jade, then the sword. That is to have my stats reach SS. Then, if I don't have all of my status be SS, I will fail. Since I haven't increased my dex to SS, I immediately understood. I'll come back again for you, Rita, I said as I returned up to the 9th floor. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 285. Looking at the KIA board, I confirmed my status. 1/2, level 1/1, HP SS, MP SS, Strength SS, Endurance SS, Intelligence SS, Mentality SS, Speed SS, Dexterity D, Luck SS. After defeating zombie dragons one after another, my dex has finally raised to a D rank. As the counter 1 dragons kept appearing during my farm sessions, it was much more difficult to farm efficiently. Before I knew it, it was already evening, and it was time for me to head home. Since I knew the way to meet the spirit of Nunium, the only thing left now is one last push. Let's not do that, Rita. I immediately changed my way of thinking. No point pushing myself. Isn't the whole reason why I'm here is because I died from overwork? Let's try to avoid making the same mistakes twice in a row. What's more, the next morning, after having my breakfast, I went and met with Plumbum. Ooh, I've been waiting for you. Plumbum, as usual, she was drawing pictures of me, but when she looked up and faced me, she smiled sweetly. And the main reason why I didn't want to push myself is because I wanted to meet with Plumbum every day, as promised. If I were to burn the midnight oil, I'll accumulate more stress, and it might affect my performance as well. I do have a similar promise with Aurum, but since she's always curious with so many other things, I don't feel like I've betrayed her when I didn't go and meet her for a few days. However, Plumbum is different, as she has been betrayed before, and if I were to break that promise, she might not trust anyone anymore. And today, she has her usual smile and laughter, which warmed my heart as I sat down next to her. Plumbum, what's up? Why are you staring at my face like that? Rita, did something happen to you? Plumbum, eh? Rita, your expression seems different from usual. Plumbum, different from usual? Rita, as she said that, she used her hands to touch and rub my face. I do believe I'm feeling normal, and fine. Are you worrying about something, and keeping it to yourself? Plumbum, what makes you think that? Rita, don't think that I'm ignorant, I'm always watching you, so of course I would know. Plumbum, with how straightforward she was, it made me more embarrassed. I see. Well yeah, there is one thing that's bothering me. Ah no. More like troubling me. Rita, what is it? You can talk to me about it. Plumbum, but. Rita, I am. Plumbum. Rita, you can say anything you want to me if it helps relieve you. Plumbum, I see. Rita, I'm glad that I came today. No one has ever said that to me before. I can say whatever I want to her, and she'll listen closely to me, which makes me glad. Actually, Rita, I told her about what I was worrying about, the fact that I couldn't find a surefire way to defeat the counter 1 zombie dragons. It's not that I'm asking her to find a way to help me, but just letting her hear what I'm worrying about. Plumbum, who listened till the end, stood up and started waving her hands at random. Then, one turtle appeared out of nowhere. It was a turtle the size where even an adult can sit on, and the surface of the shell reminds me of a UFO. This is Rita. This is the rare monster of my dungeon, a chrono turtle. Plumbum, chrono turtle, huh? Rita, try defeating it. The shell is hard enough to deflect any bullets of yours, but there is a way to defeat it. Plumbum. She then taught me the weakness, and asked me to use the growth bullet to attack at that one spot. The effect was as expected. With one hit, the monster was defeated and it dropped some liquid. And this is Rita. It's what the humans called plumbum, TLN. I tried finding the meaning of it, but all I got was a song by Glay, and directly translating means drop of time, beads of time. Toki no Shizuku? Rita. After saying that, she once again waved her hands and another chrono turtle was summoned. Then, she threw the Toki no Shizuku onto the chrono turtle. Then, the turtle's color changed. It has frozen. No, if we go by the name, did time stop for it? Rita. Yep. Plumbum. She nodded. It's an item that freezes the opponent when thrown at them. Maybe you can use this on that zombie dragon? Plumbum. Rita. Nonium 9th floor. Looking around for a particular zombie dragon, I walked around the dungeon. Then, I spotted my foe. Moving closer, I threw the temp at it. Then, the zombie dragon froze like the chrono turtle. The color changed, but it didn't move at all. What's more, the counter remained at 1. I went ahead and fired bullets at it, and the counter was still at a 1. Alright. Rita. I did a guts pose. Then, I tested some other things. With the zombie dragon stopped, I used the invisible blue flame bullet and burned it, and the counter was still at a 1. After having its entire body burned to crisp, the time suddenly started moving and it was defeated. The dex seed dropped. Not stopping there, I wanted to test again. I finally found another one, but there were 2 of them. This might be hard to test, and I wanted to run away, but I took out my revolver. Rita. I stopped moving. Then, something suddenly sparked in my head. I can do it. I tried scooping up water that is spilling through my fingers. Concentrating at my fullest, my thoughts became clear. I took out and threw it on my revolver. The revolver changed color, and time stopped. I removed the bullets that have stopped in time, and inserted a new normal bullet. Then, I fired it. It fired towards the counter 1 zombie dragon. Then, the counter remained at 1. With the revolver having the effect of the counter didn't decrease, although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 286. In the morning, I woke up and got out of bed. With the morning sun eluding warmth from the window, I walked towards the salon, and inside the salon, I saw Celeste sitting on the sofa, leaning on the elbow rest. What's wrong, Celeste? Rita. Rita-san, it's nothing, just another magical storm. Celeste. Rita. Having the magical storm hitting this place a few times really makes it depressing for Celeste, who is primarily a magic user. Are you alright? Rita. Yeah, it's the usual, and there's no sickness. However, I heard that it's going to take longer, so I'm feeling a little melancholy. Celeste. It's going to be longer than usual? Rita. Yeah, I heard that it's going to continue for 5 consecutive days. Celeste. That's long. Rita. I was slightly surprised. To continue for 5 whole days. This might be the longest one yet. It's that kind of season, so we can't help it. Celeste. It's like during the rainy season of some sort, huh? Rita. Are you fine as well? Celeste. Me? Rita. You look rather serious these days. Did something major happen recently? Celeste. I then touch my own face. As I've found a way to finally meet with Nonium, I'm getting pumped up. But it's that obvious, huh? I wonder. Rita. Do you need my help? Celeste. Celeste pushed herself up and looked at me after saying that. I am happy that she's offering. It's alright, I can handle it. Rita. Well, if it's Rita-san, then I'm sure you can do it. Celeste then went back to her usual laid-back manner on the couch. To have faith from my friend. Guess I should head to Nonium again with that feeling still fresh. After having my breakfast, I once again head to Plumbum's place, and we chatted. Apparently, she managed to yet again power up her Yosama. The face is getting more cool looking, and the clothes he wore is much sophisticated. It would be my utter defeat if we were to come out and compare with each other. With that thought, I bid Plumbum farewell and head to Nonium next. There, I did some farming with the zombie dragons. Most of the time, I would use the invisible blue flames bullet to defeat them, but if I encounter any one-digit dragons, I would use the beads of time and defeat them. And if I encounter any 3 or above counters, I would instead use my growth and annihilation bullets combination to defeat it. This is how I'm trying to grasp things, like how I stopped using the invisible blue flames bullet to defeat 3 counters and higher as it would slow down the farming speed. While farming, I suddenly felt an intense headache. It must be from the effects of the magical storm. MP, intelligence and mentality. Since all 3 of these are at rank SS, the effects of the magical storm would hit harder. What's more, repetition. Rita. Even after chanting the magic, nothing appeared. Being sidetracked, I encountered the 1-counter zombie dragon. Throwing the beads of time on it, I then fired bullets till it was defeated. Picking up the dex seeds, I realized something. I'm glad that I won't need to rely on repetition to defeat the counter 1 dragons, since the magical storm is going to continue for a full 5 days. I think it's best to find more ways to defeat them. Rita. What pattern to use when I encounter 3, 4, and 5, and even for the 99 counter 1, even though it's rare. Suddenly, I heard some clapping from behind. It was rather sudden, so I turned behind and looked around. Since nobody would ever come here, who I saw was Neptune and his teammates. Amazing of you to find a safe way to farm here, plus during a magical storm no less. Neptune. What's up? For you to come here as well is rare of you. Rita. Ahaha, I heard that there were people who have completed this dungeon, so I can finally retire. Neptune. Retire. Rita. I was the one in charge of checking things in Nonium when it first emerged. Neptune. Rita. An abyss of memory emerged and slammed into my head. This happened more than a year ago, when Emily and I worked hard on the 1st and 2nd floors of Turaru, and when my abilities were all F. That was when Nonium was first born, and the Neptune family was in charge of checking things out. That's right, I completely forgotten about it. Rita. I can finally retire from this dungeon. Neptune. Retire? You did say that just now, but what do you mean by that? Rita. I've checked out all of the floors of this dungeon, except for this, as I can't defeat the 1 and 2 counters of the zombie dragons. Neptune. Is that so? Rita. Yep. Ran. Neptune. Yeah, I just have to do it right. Leave it to me. Ran. Both of them then stood out, and started chanting when they saw a zombie dragon with the counter 3 on it. God blaze. Devil cast. The black and white magic was casted on Neptune. Then, white and black wings appeared from behind Neptune. Then, the counter -2 in an instant. With that, Neptune used all his strength to punch the zombie dragon, and it was blown away. As you can see, this is how I usually fight. I can win easily if it's 3. But it's impossible with the 1 and 2. Neptune. Now I see what you mean. Rita. It's basically his surefire way move. But then again, you've been an adventurer for so long, so you know as well. Nobody can defeat the counter 1 for a long time. Neptune. But well, there's no problem now. Rita. As someone with all S drop, the word impossible is nil to me. But it's not strange for Neptune to retire from this dungeon as he isn't able to defeat the counter 1 and 2 zombie dragons. So, even if he reported it to the Dungeon Association, and at that time it was cleansed, it can't be helped. Hence why I'm here. I wanted to see the person who has surpassed me. Neptune. I see. Rita. You're simply amazing. Hey, why not join my team? Neptune. You're saying this again? Rita. Of course I'll be persistent. I'm always interested in you. Neptune, you did say that many times. But, I'm sorry. Rita, that's too bad. Well, Neptune. Rita, since you don't to join my family, but then again, can't we do things like what you did for Cliff and Margaret? Neptune, huh? Rita, what I'm saying is, let's have the Neptune family be under the wings of the Rita family. Neptune, he looked at me straight in the eyes, deadpan, you serious? Rita, always am. Neptune, with him being serious, even his companion behind him were sulking. They have a face of, why is Neptune putting himself down onto others, kind of look, which mean he is seriously considering, for real, although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 287. I wonder, I won't let you do it though. Let's just not do it. The two beauties standing behind Neptune, especially Rill, was staring at me with her eyebrows frowning, and puffing her cheeks. Though I'm being sent death threats from their eyes, Neptune put a stop by raising his hands, and just like how he is like, he smiled and spoke. Why is it you want to know? Would you be happy if I gave a reason? Neptune, I think if they don't hear a reason from you, they would never give up. Rita, yeah, but my intentions are real this time around. Neptune, I sighed once. You don't have anything to worry, huh? Rita, must I worry about something? Neptune, it's not that you have to. Rita, replying to me with such a serious face makes me worried even more. Realistically speaking, it's understandable based on his judgment. However, I move around a lot in this world, especially when it comes to saving or helping people around. I would help people who worked hard but gain nothing in return. People who are being exploited. Just looking at them reminds me of what I went through in the past, and I would automatically help them. And based on that, there's no need to help Neptune with his condition. He's not someone who's being exploited, or being used. More like he's the opposite of those people. That's why I want to refuse his offer. You don't have to worry about that. Neptune, why not? Rita, because I'm really in need. Neptune answered, and used his usual secretive smile at me. 10 was what he said. The 117 atomic number, huh? Rita, what's that? Neptune, don't mind me. So a new dungeon has been born? Rita, as I briefly said. Rill and Rand's eyes widen, as if they've heard of something unimaginable. Neptune didn't act that way, but in return he smiled even more. As expected, you're amazing beyond belief. It's not even publicly announced yet, and I'm the only one who knows about this new dungeon. Neptune. Rita, I might have been careless on my part. The 117 atomic number, 10. It's the same with Nunium, where the name is the same as the periodic table, so that's how I got to know about it. Since it's common to know about these in our world, but for them it's a name that hasn't been heard of before, so it was careless on my part that they have such a reaction. I'm in charge of investigating that dungeon, similar to what I did for Nunium. Neptune, that's awesome. Rita, and I'm having a pinch right this moment. Honestly, I can't do it, because I've been cursed, and thus, I need you to help me. No, I want you to help me. Neptune, are you sure you're in a pinch? Rita, yes, and honestly, you're the only one who can help me. The only person in this world who is higher rank than me, is none other than you. Neptune. Rita, I'm not sure whether he's being real with me, and I don't know his true intentions. You're not fair. Rita, am I? Neptune acted innocent, so I thought maybe I can find some clues with his partners, but both Rill and Rand's faces seemed eloquent. Rill had an angry face as if saying, if I don't accept it, I'll kill you, and Rand's like, if Neptune can't do it, then I can't, with a sad expression. Both have their own worries, and the person that they're following is being unfair. Sigh, fine. Rita, so you're gonna accept it? Neptune, yeah. Rita, thanks, Rill, Ran. Neptune, I got it. Rin, HMPH. If only you're done as you're told. Ran. Both of them turned around in unison, and walked back from whence they came from. What are you going to do? Rita, they're doing some preparations, and I will be spreading news about the Neptune family joining the Rita family. Neptune, is it even necessary? Rita, of course. Neptune, oi, what's with the pause? Rita, don't tell me, those two were acting as well, Tilda, ha. Oh come on, since I'm in a pinch, can't you be a buddy and help me out? Neptune, you're so clear about it that I can't even get angry about it. Rita, I unknowingly retorted, but he returned it with a serious face instead. But I'm truly grateful for your help. Neptune, you. It's so unfair that you're being serious with me. Rita, afterwards, Neptune said that he'll come back once he's done preparing, and left Nonium. Regaining my motive, I once again raised my decks to B, then returned to the mansion. Something terrible happened, Rita-san. What's up, Ina? Rita, outside, look outside right now. Ina, outside? Rita, following her instructions, I looked through the window. My gosh, who are these people? There's like 100+ of them. Rita, they're all adventurers? Adventurers that are under Neptune's wings. Ina, Neptune you say? Rita, I furrowed my eyebrows, and I have a bad feeling about this. I heard that Neptune has recently joined under your family, so his own teammates have entered as well. They're all saying things like, we'll follow Brother Rita for the rest of our lives, or something along those lines. Ina. Rita, rubbing my eyebrows, I was starting to get a headache. I don't think I can accept these hot-headed people, and thus I left it as is. Then after a few days, the largest family was born, with Rita family having Neptune's family, and his own subordinate families under him. I'm beginning to get a migraine from this, although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 288. In order to help Neptune out, I need to drown my sorrows first by completing Nonium Dungeon. Continuing to keep the promise with Plumbum, I also continued farming in Nonium, and around evening, I would automatically head back home to rest. And doing that for 3 consecutive days. 1/2, level 1/1, HPSS, MPSS, Strength SS, Endurance SS, Intelligence SS, Mentality SS, Speed SS, Dexterity SS, Luck SS, Dash. Ooh. Rita. Checking my status with the portable KIA board, I instantly jumped in excitement. This really brings back all the memories I had when I first discovered that I was an Olaf. And now looking at my cheat characteristic status after years of training, having to collect the seeds one by one every day, I'm deep in emotion. Okay, I can finally do this. It is time to meet with Nonium. Now that I think about it, the reason why I wanted repetition was because of Nonium. Going back to the mansion for a moment, I used the transportation room once more to the room just before the spirits room. The 5-meter square cube fleshy cube was there. The unpleasant looking object is still there. Anyways, I went around it and operated the KIA board on it. It checked all of my status, and each of the SS would shine on the display. HP, IP, Strength, Endurance, Intelligence, Mentality, Speed, Dexterity, Luck. After that, chunks of meat starting melting off from the cube. It slowly fell to the ground, and sizzled on the ground before disappearing. Taking a distance away from it, I waited for it to completely melt off. Another zombie dragon? Rita. After all of the meat disappeared, a zombie dragon appeared right at that place. It was the exact same dragon from the 9th floor, and even the size and smell that reeks off of it was similar. The only thing different was the counter on its head that shows A9 on it. I thought of just defeating it and continue on to Nonium's room, but then I stopped and thought for a moment. I have to defeat it anyways. But since it has 9 counter, which means, Rita, an alarm rang from within my head. I don't know whether to call it an intuition, but it was a comprehensive judgment based on the abundance of experiences I accumulated, so you can call it a hunch or an intuition. And this experience of mine told me to stop attacking, because these past few days, I tried changing the way I attack based on the number the zombie dragon has on its forehead. But this number, It can't be just a coincidence that it appeared just like that. Nonium has 9 floors, and to have the number 9 pop up in this. Coincidence? I think not. I think that if I can't defeat it in 9 tries, something terrible is going to happen. Repetition. Rita. The first thing that I tried was to use the strongest farming magic on it, but the counter decreased by 1, then soon after, the 3-headed zombie dog appeared, and all 3 of it has the counter 8 on them. I knew it. Rita. To have the undead dog heads appeared without me knowing, I knew that there must be some sort of condition to clear this. All 9 floors, and all 9 types of monsters. Every time I defeat one, the counter would minus by 1 and another appears, which means I have to defeat all of them in one hit, and show them what I got from all the growth I've been through. This made me hyped up. If that's the case, wait a minute. Rita. I almost tried defeating the 3-headed dog zombies with my usual method, which is fire the homing bullet, but I noticed that it takes 2 hits to defeat. So, I used the beads of time to stop it, then fired the homing bullet. Then the moment I see where the bullet is heading, I fired at that head and the counter decreased by 1, followed by it being defeated. For the 7th, it was the electric mummy. 6th, the poison zombie. 5th, the red skeleton. All those, I safely defeated them with 1 hit. For the 4th counter, they were the mummies. Oh yeah, I needed 2 hits to fight them. Rita. So, similar with the 3-headed dog zombies, I used the beads of time, then use the growth bullet which I've spent using it for such a long time to defeat it in 1 hit, then use the flaming bullet to burn the bandages. Finally, it was the mummy, zombie, and skeleton. With all 9 of them defeated, I waited for a moment, and an entrance appeared. It was the long-awaited entrance, the place where Nonium lives. When it appeared, the air around me changed. From experience, I know what it is. I took a deep breath and entered with expectations. I have been expecting your arrival. There, a woman dressed in a life-size jumpsuit. The woman who I met many times, but a miniature version. There lies the spirit of this dungeon, Nonium. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 289. Finally. Nonium. Rita. I have put great thoughts in coming up things to talk to you when I will finally meet you. But that seems to be the first thing that came to mind. Nonium. Nonium smiled sweetly as she said those words. It is to be expected. Nonium, she continued. What is? Rita. Do you still remember the time when I gave you the magic repetition? Nonium. Yeah, I think it was when I met you for the first time. You helped pick the magic fruit for me, which led me to get the magic repetition. Rita. It was quite some time ago. While I was picking the magic fruit, which wasn't cheap at all, price roughly around 3 million euros, Nonium appeared and guided me to choose which fruit. That's right. I had to somehow tell you to gain that magic, as in the long run, it would be impossible to came to this point. Nonium. That's true. If I do not have it, I wouldn't be able to defeat some of the monsters in this dungeon, especially the 3-headed dogs and the mummies. Rita. Yes, because no matter how much training you put into your status, if you don't have repetition, it would be near impossible to complete the conditions laid before meeting me, or so it would seem. Nonium. This time Nonium smiled, but with a gorgeous and seductive smile. It was a smile befitting of someone wearing a Japanese-style dress. To be able to come here without using the strength of repetition, you have far exceeded the expectations I have. You're truly amazing. Nonium. Again, she silently said amazing even after finishing her sentence. Usually, it would make me a little embarrassed when being called that, but the way she said it is different from others. It made me happy. Anyhows, there must be a reason that you called out to me, is that right? Rita. Nonium. Nonium did not break her smile. However, compared to the smile she showed me just now, it was a kind of lonely smile. Please do not laugh at me. Nonium. I won't. Rita. I nodded, looked at her and waited for her to respond. I wanted to be needed. Nonium. Rita. Needless to say, you're right here with me now. However, there's nobody that needs me in this world. Nonium. There's Margaret though. Wait, that's different. Rita: yes, even if I'm not here, she would be fine on her own. Nobody other than you came to me, not once, not twice, but all the time. Nonium: it can't be helped, though, was what I thought. Since this world is dependent on drops in the dungeon. When dungeons can drop plantations, minerals, and even things for factory work. Only Nonium doesn't drop anything. Even top-tier adventurers with all a drop status couldn't get anything out of this dungeon. Since nothing drops, nobody even wants to come here. It has become difficult to maintain a human life. Nonium: what do you mean by that? Rita: all monster has a lifespan. If a monster isn't defeated inside a dungeon for a long time, they would cease to exist. But no one human knows such knowledge. Nonium: I mean that's true. Since it is impossible to leave a monster alone before its lifespan ends. Rita: Nonium nodded at my response, then continued, and so, the monsters whose lifespan has ended, would turn into air, which in return, produces more air, day and night here. Nonium: You're saying the oxygen that humans need to breathe, right? Rita: she nodded once more. This time, her gentle smile faded. The expression that was shown this time was a woman which is tired beyond belief. Even though everyone needs oxygen to continue living, but no one wants to come here, or appreciates the oxygen that is being given by the monsters. Nonium. Next, her smile turned into somewhat of a self-restraint. Having to experience this every day tires me. Nonium. Rita: I came to understand what she's going through. She is the same as me, the me before I came here, working as hard as I could, even when my body is deteriorating. I continued. Even so, nobody came to appreciate my hard work, and I had to continue working hard. No, in fact, she's had it worse than me. Hence why I want you to save me. Nonium. I have said such words before myself. Rita. With her words, a revelation struck me. It was the time when I started out my new life in this world, and now, I can return it to Nonium. You will definitely be appreciated if you work hard. No matter how slow or how fast you're working on it, someone somewhere will appreciate you. Rita. Is that how it works? Nonium. Yes. Rita. I strongly nodded. Then, I laughed. Since I was like that as well, that's why. Rita. Because of that? Nonium. I shall change this dungeon, where you think that nobody needs you. Rita. Is it alright for me to believe in those words? Nonium. Tears accumulated on her eyes. I'm not asking you to believe. Rita. Then. Nonium. It is something definite. It's not about whether you can trust me or not. If someone works hard on something, I will make sure they will be rewarded equally. That is my goal. Rita. These words were something that normally wouldn't come out of my mouth. I was kind of shocked, but at the same time, I was happy. I could see plenty of expressions coming out of Nonium. Okay. Nonium, and this is the third time I've seen a different smile. A smile which I've seen hope. A smile of someone who was saved from the depths of hell. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 290. With that, I can take it easy for Nonium. I'll go there to replenish my stocks from time to time, but I can take my time doing it without worrying about getting all my stats to max. However, it's not like I've found a solution for her, so I can't be too relaxed. It's nice meeting with you. I shall wait here for your good news to come. Nonium. Please wait for a while. Rita. Yes, I will wait here until you come back. Nonium. I leave Nonium, who misunderstood what I was saying, and went back to the 9th floor. Instead of explaining it to her, I feel that action speaks more than words. Finding the gate at the 9th floor, I used it to return to my mansion. Then this time I used the transportation room to go to Orum's room. What is it, Rita? It's been a while since you came here. Orum said as she tilted her head slightly, as she could freely move in and out of her room. I don't need to come visit her anymore. Sorry, Orum. Can I borrow a mic for a moment? I'll give her back in a jiffy. Rita. I don't mind that, but, I don't even need to ask why. Orum just smiled and handed her best friend, Mike, to me. Alright, do your best to be useful to Rita. I will. Mike, once again, I used the gate and this time went to Nonium's room. You have returned. What seems to be the problem? Nonium, I did say to wait for a while, right? Rita, you did. However, I did not expect such a quick return. Nonium, well. Rita, I handed Mike over to her. Who is this child? Nonium, you can hug her and leave the dungeon. Rita, what did you just say? Nonium, I want you to follow me for a moment. Rita, however, for me to leave this dungeon. No, never mind. Nonium said, with a hint of loneliness mixed into those words. There's no reason to stay here as well. Nonium, it's not like anyone would come, was what I felt her inner thoughts were telling me, so, she accepted that fact and decided to follow me. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do after this, but it's better than leaving her here. That I know, hence why I felt that it's better to bring her out with me. I understand, I shall follow you. Nonium, alright, hold her tightly, okay? Rita, yes. Nonium, nice to meet you, Mike. As she hugged Mike, we warped back to the mansion using the gate. What a terrifying person you are. Nonium, why is that? Rita, to be able to bring a spirit out from their dungeon. No one in the history of this world could ever done that, but you just easily did it. Nonium, it's not that great of a feat. Rita, after saying that, Nonium let go of Mike. Thanks for your help, Mike. Rita, is it okay for me to return to Oram-sama now? Mike, yeah, give her a thanks once you return to her side. Rita, yes. Mike, she said as she used the transportation room by herself to return to Oram's room. After sending her off, I brought Nonium out of the room. Well then, I have to prepare a suitable room for you, Rita. Welcome back, Yoda-san. Emily, while walking down the corridor, I could hear Emily's voice. With her slipper making a pitter-patter sound, she walked towards us. Great timing, Emily. I want you, Rita. I wanted to introduce to her, then asked her to help me with setting up the room. However, Emily just stood there silently, and stared at Nonium, with a serious stare. She looked as though she did not catch a single word from my mouth. Right after I was done, she suddenly went towards Nonium and hugged her. Nonium, who was being hugged, was confused. A familiar scene rose. She has done something similar to me before. It was a warm hug, and warm and blissful hug from Emily. As expected of Emily, even Nonium is feeling it. She slowly moved her arms behind Emily's back. Looking from the sidelines, one looks like someone working in a Japanese inn, and the other, a child. However, the position is switched if you add in the context, as Emily is gently comforting Nonium. After some time, Emily suddenly lifted her face up. Yoda-san. Emily, what's up? Rita, I want her to live with us, Disu. Emily, well, of course, that was my plan from the get-go. Rita, yes, Disu. Emily, with the excited Emily, she held Nonium's hands and dragged her. Nonium still looked slightly troubled, but she did not mind it at all. Rita-san, who's that? Ina. Rita-san, who is that person just now? Elsa. The two faces popped out from the branch office of S room, and curiously asked. Emily had her head tilted, whilst Ina was grinning while raising her finger at me, a classical gesture, I would say. Don't be mistaken, that woman over there is Nonium. Rita, Nonium. Don't tell me. Elsa, another spirit. Ina, yeah, I'm letting her stay here for the time being, so please treat her well, okay? Rita, why yeah. Elsa, yes Tilda. Ina. Both Elsa and Ina had a wow look on their faces. I might have already noticed it at that time. No, I should have known not to say anything. Thinking about it, I should not have told Elsa and Ina about Nonium. The next day came. Immediately, words were passed around throughout the shops of Dot. In the near future, I speculate that various merchants will rush to put their stores near Nonium. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 291, Nonium Dungeon, Basement, First Floor. I was firing the growth bullet at the skeletons who were chasing after me. After the skeleton was defeated, The usual drop for the HP seed did not drop because nonium isn't inside her dungeon. Even my power-up seeds won't drop at all. Wait, that's not the issue right now. The problem I'm having is to have a normal drop for this dungeon. To have nonium's wishes of being useful to others, I need to have normal adventurers coming in here getting normal drops. Thinking of ways to do it, I thought of doing the breeding method, which I've done previously. Using the unique ability of the Dungeon Master, you can change the structure of the monsters, and even the drops they give. However, I think Nonium said that she can't do that. As per what she said, the damage is too severe, thus I did not do that. Speak of the devil. Rita, the air around me changed, and the Dungeon Master appeared. It's a 160-centimeter girl. Her hair was around 2 meters long. So long in fact that the hair was touching the ground. Fortunately, her important parts were covered by the hair that she has, which in itself gave off a strange feeling. An expressionless girl with pale skin which gives off just a little phosphorescent. It fits the usual undead types that we have in this dungeon. I went straight towards her. The moment I was close to her range, she uses her sharp nails to scratch me. The feeling of my skin being torn by her nails courses throughout my body. Nonium's Dungeon Master. Usually it has no fixed entity, but when it attacks, it would form a body. Thus, that is the only time in which you can attack it. Last time, it was extremely difficult to defeat, but right now, even her full attack didn't really leave as much of scratch. When she attacks, I dodge it and fired once, then rinse and repeat till about 5 shots later, she was defeated. The Dungeon Master disappears, and the air around me went back to normal. It didn't change, and the reason why we can't do the breeding technique is because not only does Nonium not get any drops, which they don't to begin with, the entire city of Shikuro's dungeon won't get any drops either. Usually, the monsters would disappear when the Dungeon Master appears, but for Nonium's case, its effect would spread to every other dungeons in Shikuro. That's why, if I try to use the breeding technique for Nonium, I would cost the rest of the production line for Shikuro. I don't think I can bring myself to do that. Hence why I would defeat it the moment we find the Dungeon Master of Nonium. I think that there's a curse to it. Inside the chairman's room of Shikuro Dungeons Association, when I asked Cell about it, that was the sentence that he gave. That's what you think, huh? Rita, based on Satisama's story, I can summarize that the spirit's core structure is similar to that of a human being. If that is the case, it is natural to think that way. Cell said in a serious tone, the burden that was placed to her, and not being wanted, I think that feeling from Nonium has manifested into the Dungeon Master. Cell. I see what you mean. Rita, it's not like I didn't know what he's trying to say. Since she's been suffering for so long, she wants others to feel what she's feeling. In other people's case, this might be a horrible thing to do, but I do understand why she would feel that way. If Satisama wishes. Cell, if I wish? Rita, under my authority, would you want me to stop the production of Shikuro for just a day? Cell, wouldn't you be in trouble if you did that? Rita, if it's to strengthen another dungeon, then that wouldn't be an issue. What's more? Cell, also? Rita, Satisama is severely underestimating himself. You have brought back a dungeon's life, all by yourself. So if you want to do something to help Nonium Dungeon, I'm sure nobody would ever complain about it. Cell, I think you're giving me too much credit. Rita, I bitterly smile. That's not it. Everyone would gather to Nonium if Satisama were to change it. Cell, you're exaggerating. Rita, I know it, but hearing it from Cell just makes it more weird. There are people who are speculating what kind of dungeon it would be it animal, vegetation, minerals, magic, or special drops. Cell, vegetation. Wait, so it's not just Shikuro that distributes vegetables? Rita, since Nonium did not drop anything whatsoever, people were speculating it might be something other than vegetables. Cell, I see. Rita, it might even be special items. If I were to categorize it, being able to increase your ability with the seeds, I feel that it's under the special items. I have something I would like to add. Cell, what is it? Rita, there were women who are interested in Satisama wanting to apply into your family has appeared. Sal, a girl, apply? Rita, I myself was surprised by this. I didn't really get what it meant, but it was real. All are innocent beauties, and each has its own race, and they're all pure maidens. Sal, I think you're exaggerating. Rita, that's the evaluation for Satisama. Sal smiled. Satisama has already reached the stage where every action you do has enough impact and fame to change the world. Sal, again, too exaggerated. Rita, although that's what Satisama said, but you have the spirit and the world's hope and fate at your back. Sal, the world. Rita, so if Satisama ever fails. Sal became even more happy. If you ever abandon Nunium, the entire world's drop might just disappear for all you know. Sal, oh. Rita, that might actually be a possibility. Even now, the Dungeon Master is doing it, but a smaller scale. If Nonium truly becomes desperate, it might actually be true. I'll put more thought into it. Rita, what? It's no problem, whatever Satisama does, at the end of the day, it will succeed. Sal, again, stop that. Rita, PFFT. Sal raised the corner of his mouth and started laughing. While thinking about what's wrong with him, we heard a knock on the door. I apologize for interrupting with the meeting. However, Satisama's family has arrived, and wants to meet with him. My family? Rita, Alice just barged into the chairman's room. The monsters that are riding on her shoulders seems to all be out of breath. What's up, Alice? Rita, as something huge happened. There's a present. Alice, a present. Rita, when I took a look at Sal, he had a face as if saying, what did I tell you? Look, but the situation exceeded my expectations. It's coming from all over the mansion that it might just get buried by all of the presents. Alice, that's just going too far. Rita, seriously, how much presents are there that it can bury the entire mansion? Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 292. When I returned back to the mansion with Alice, the disaster was much worse than I can imagine. The mountain load of gifts were spilling out of the mansion. Since we can't even enter the mansion, we had the horse carriage stop near the garden and dropped us off there. All of them were wrapped neatly, and they're probably expensive items inside, but to go this far is a little. It looks just like a garbage-filled house. Rita, what do we do, Tilda? Alice, I wonder. Rita, do you want me to leave it to me? The one suggesting was Orem, who was hugging Mike as always. The owner of Orem Dungeon is so used to come to my house that it's a norm right now. What do you mean by that? Rita, it's just like what I said. You can just leave these in my house, since the space is infinitely large. Orem, your room. You mean the spirit's house? Rita, Orem nodded. I see, if it's there, we have no problems keeping it. Just leave it at my place for now. If not, you can't even use your mansion, right? Orem, yeah, that would be bad for us. Rita, you don't have to be so reluctant, okay? Aren't you my friend? Orem, no, it's not like I'm being reluctant. Rita, then what is it? Orem tilted her head slightly. I have to explain my reason, or maybe I don't have to anymore because, before I could even say anything, an explosion occurred on the other side of the mansion. What happened? There's monsters over there, Rita. Alice immediately noticed the rogue monsters. Alice hurriedly bring me there, and we could see monsters flying from behind the mansion. It was a huge eyeball ghost, and not only that, it has some tactile senses extending from its eyeball, and those have small eyeballs on them. Then, Emily and Celeste too rushed out from the mansion, and were chasing after the monsters. Emily was holding her signature hammer, swinging on the monsters, whilst Celeste started chanting a huge magic with the bicorn horn on her hand. I knew this would eventually happen. This is just too much, which even humans couldn't reach, and that would cause monsters to hatch. Rita, Orem, that's why, if we place it all inside Orem's room, they would all eventually hatch into rogue monsters as well. That would be a war on its own. Rita, I see, Let's leave what to do for later. For now, let's go and defeat those monsters. Rita, it's my first time seeing these monsters, which are called gazers. Both Celeste and Emily have a rough time defending. Knowing that they need help, I stepped in as well. Emily, Celeste. Rita, Yoda-san. Emily, Rita-san. Celeste, leave the back to me. Rita, yes Disu. Emily, okay. Celeste, with me joining the fray, they could focus on the front, and I would help fight the ones at the back. Looking at how they defeat the gazers by hitting their weak point, I followed suit by using the special bullets to counter. So you're Nonium? Yes. And who might you be? Nonium. Inside the mansion, Nonium, who was staring at our fight, was approached by Aurum. Even the salon that we hang about was filled with presents, and Nonium was the only one sitting there. If I say I'm Aurum, you should know, right? Aurum. So you are Aurum. Nonium, it's so strange that we would actually meet with each other. These are things that we couldn't dreamt of previously. Aurum. Yes, that is indeed the case. Nonium, so it wasn't a misunderstanding when I'm looking through the window and saw your face. You don't seem to be showing your emotions. Aurum. Aurum said, then gently hit Nonium's head with a chop. Nonium, who was hit by Aurum, had a on her head, and strangely looked at Aurum. I've heard of your circumstances, and I understand. Aurum. Nonium, arsenic, selon, plumbum, phosphorus, and me. Aurum. Do you know anything about them? Aurum. Nonium, these are the dungeon names in which Rita willingly came to help, and you know he's amazing. Just take a look. Aurum. Aurum pointed at Rita, who's fighting the monster who he never faced before, and could immediately eliminate it. With his abundant experiences, and his high status, plus the plentiful powerful items that he owns. By using all these, he was able to defeat the gazer with minimal damage to himself, and also to the mansion as well. Rita will never abandon something once he starts. So, your problem will eventually be solved, so you just have to wait for him. Aurum. Do you really believe in him in high regards? Nonium. Yeah, come with me for a while. Aurum. Where are we going? Nonium. I want to bring you to meet arsenic, selenium, plumbum, etc. Aurum. Meet them? But how? No, how are we going to meet them in the first place? Nonium. I'm going to get angry, okay? Aurum. Nonium, you're gonna make everyone angry if you still can't trust him when he's already here helping you out. Mike, bring us to where everyone is. Aurum. Alright, let's go. Mike, Aurum said, and forced Nonium to follow her. A mountain load of presents from the humans that trusts him. Aurum, who also trusts in him, pulling Nonium to show her. Rita is someone who not only has humans trusting him, but by the spirits as well. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 293. I left sorting out the mountain-filled presents to sell. After the battle with the rogue monsters, some of them were crushed, but most of them were sent anonymously. Since it was impossible to send it back to everyone, we decided to dispose and or cash it. At first, I wanted Elsa and Ina to handle it for me back at the branch office, but since they specialized in vegetables, I decided not to. Though strictly speaking, there's nothing much to handle, because I will be stepping into a new territory. Was what Elsa said. It's true that if you give someone work that is unrelated to what they're originally doing, it might lower their morality, and hence why I leave it to sell, since he has so many connections. Since all of the presents were off high-quality items, it would be best to leave a noble to deal with it. And thus, we are done with that problem, and the inside of our mansion has returned back to normal. With that, I went to the salon to relax. Then, Aurum came in as well. Can I speak to you right now? Aurum. What is it? Rita. It's about Nonium. Aurum. Fumu. Rita. I lazily sink further into the sofa, stretched my arms and legs before returning to a normal sitting posture. Then, Mike, who was at eye level with me, stared at me together with Aurum. What seems to be the problem with Nonium? Rita, you're obviously going to help her, right? Aurum. Yeah, that's a given. It's what I have always been doing. Rita, since Orem was one of the ones that I've saved, I'm sure she knows the severity of my words. Then, can you put that on hold for a while? Orem, why though? Rita. I'm thinking of bringing her to visit various other dungeons. Orem, you thought of something, haven't you? Rita. Orem was unusually serious. In my observation, Orem is the same type as Alice, the happy-go-lucky type. So, it kinda jogs my curiosity when I see such a serious face from her. I just want to let her see the outside world, that's all. Orem, is that all? Rita, because I thought how lucky I was to be able to see the outside world. Orem, I got it. Orem, I approved by nodding, which made her slightly surprised by it. Is it really okay? Orem, you have your own ways, right? Rita, yep. Orem, then I'll leave it to you. Since you're both spirits in comrade, I'm sure something that you thought of would help her in some way. Rita, thanks. Orem, he already said it's alright. Rita, hiya. Orem, both Orem and I were shocked by that unexpected reply. Suddenly, there was a guy who budged into our conversation midway. Let me do it first. Neptune says as he chuckled. When did you come in? Rita, it's a secret, Neptune. The other two aren't here today? Rita, it's not like they're always with me 24/7. Neptune, is that so? Rita, anyways, if it's about that, can you give me priority first, for Tenna-in, and you promise to help me? Neptune, well, Rita, Satasama, Rita, hiya, again? Orem, we were both shocked once again. This time it was Cell that appeared. What is it, Cell? Rita, I want you to fulfill my promise. Cell, yours? You mean about the money-making dungeon? Rita, that's right. Cell, did you clear anything relating to politics? Rita, without any hesitation. Cell, I see. Rita, both Neptune and Cell wants me to complete their request at the same time. If I think about it, I should thank Orem for helping me out. Please, only you can help me with this. Neptune, this has a huge impact on the world, so we can only borrow Satasama's power. Cell, both of them looked at me with strong-willed eyes. Well then, which should I go first? I looked at them back and forth. Where's Tenna-in? Rita, was what I ultimately chose. Thanks, if you're going with me, then the problem will naturally be solved. Neptune said with a delighted face, and Cell has a sad but envious look. I felt bad for Cell, but it's my first time seeing Neptune not having his partner, Ran and Ril with him, so that's why I chose Neptune out of curiosity. I wonder what kind of dungeon Tenna-in will be, although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 294. Sitting on the horse carriage that Cell provided for us, Neptune and I rode for half a day before reaching Tenna-in. What awaits us was an extremely tall tower, with the shadow of the tower covering the wilderness. The top of the tower couldn't even be seen as it rises up above the clouds. This is Tenna-in? Rita, that's right. Neptune, so we're going up instead of down? Rita, is this your first time seeing a dungeon that's not underground? Neptune, I nodded lightly. I see. Well, it happens from time to time. Neptune, is that so? Rita, it's not like I'm particularly surprised or anything. I mean, it's true that the dungeons that I've been into were all going downwards, but I did not exclude the possibility of it not going upwards. I looked around my surroundings. There's nothing around us, not even a village. Rita, they haven't developed anything of that sort yet, since this place is under the rights of several places, and it depends on the investigation to determine. Neptune, I see. By the way, what are the monsters and drops like? Rita, I don't know about the drops. Neptune, you don't? Rita, Neptune wryly smiled. As I said before, it depends on the results of the investigation, right? Neptune, we have to know at least what they drop. Rita, the monsters here are stronger than me. I might have won the first time, but I let my chance slip by. Neptune, stronger than you, and your first time? Rita, you'll understand once you head inside. And just to let you know again, they're stronger than me. Neptune." He repeated the same words twice. Afterwards, he went onward with a serious face. "Do keep your guard up." Neptune. Got it. Rita. I know the strength of Neptune, as he is famous because of it. But to say that to this dungeon, I gave up thinking about it, and looked forward to going into the dungeon. "I'll leave the carriage to you. So for now, I'll try to clear the first floor, but I have to head back soon immediately after clearing, okay?" Rita. "Since I have my promise of meeting Plum Bum every day." "You got my words, leave it to me." Neptune. Neptune sent me off, as I walked into the dungeon by myself. "Tenna in, first floor." The outside is shaped like a tower, and obviously the inside does too. The interior has pile of marbled stone bricks stacked symmetrically, and there are gaps that indicate that they're windows. This might be the first time going into such a bright dungeon. It's not a bad feeling. "Well then, what would the monsters, didn't you say that you're not following, Neptune?" Rita. Neptune. I saw Neptune marching towards me. "Wait a minute, there's another entrance over there." Rita. My instincts kicked in immediately as I jumped to the side. The Neptune who was marching towards me threw a punch at me. Bam! The sound of air exploding could be heard from where I was earlier. The explosion of his fist made a hole in the floor. "What the hell are you doing, Neptune?" Rita. Neptune. Don't tell me it's not the real one? Rita. Being confused, Neptune once again charged towards me, releasing the same punch towards me. This time, however, I threw a punch at him as well. An unheard shockwave blasted throughout the dungeon, and Neptune and I were blown 3 steps away from each other. We were equal. This reminded me of when I first met him in the pub. It was similar to the time when he moved and threw a punch at me. At that time, both of us were equal. But now, we're still equal. Rita. Since then, I have powered up. In contrast, Neptune should have kept at where he was. But right now, he's far stronger than before, especially when his strength is similar to mine. The word, fake, appeared at the back of my mind. Since the movements are similar, it might be a doppelganger of the person, just that the power is overwhelmingly higher than the original. I set up a barrage of fire using my normal bullets, then installed a trap using the flameless bullet. But he managed to escape from my trap, and even rushed towards me with tremendous speed. Bam! I guarded the fierce punch that was coming after me, which caused me to fly away, but before that, I grabbed onto his arms as well and swung, then threw him backwards using the momentum. Neptune was sent flying towards the walls of the tower, which caused the towers to crack. Then, amongst the dust and rubble, Neptune emerged. He's unscathed, huh? Rita. I was kinda amazed. There was dust all over him, but no injuries whatsoever. How about this? Rita. I fired the speed-up bullet on myself, accelerating myself by 10x. I rushed towards Neptune, avoiding his slow-motion heavy punch. I grabbed onto his throat and dragged him across the ground like a train. Once I reached the walls, I fired the growth and infinite lighting bullet relentlessly at 0 distance. Will that work? Rita. This would kill a dungeon master class numerous times. However, it doesn't seem like he was that injured, as he further counter-attacked. Though he looks tough, it doesn't mean that it's not working, and it's not like he has anything special. It's just the strongest adventurer, Neptune, but X2. I still have my acceleration effect. I grabbed onto his arms again in slow motion, then judo flip him onto the ground, making his arms and legs opened up into a word. Then, I fired the trash bullet on all 4 of his limbs. With the bullet which even I can't move it, it landed on Neptune's limbs, preventing him from moving. He tried tossing around, but it was fruitless. Then, mounting on him, I continued to fire more bullets at 0 distance. When my speed effect almost wore off, I finally defeated him, and something dropped. What dropped was, it's Matsutek. This is my first time seeing it in this world. Rita. Getting to meet such a strong opponent today, and it dropping a high-quality food. In a sense, it's amazing to say the least, but then again it doesn't really fit. I guess it does make sense in this world. I picked the Matsutek up, so more are coming, huh? Rita. Having to painstakingly defeat one of them, 3 more appeared from far. All 3 closed the distance by rushing towards me. Usually I would escape from a 3v1 battle. Repetition. Rita. But I used repetition. It is only used when I'm fighting against an incredibly strong opponent in which I have not figured out a way to defeat them effectively yet. This sure is a troublesome dungeon. Rita. I'm also curious as to why it was Neptune that I'm fighting. Better ask him once I head out. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 295. After getting out of the dungeon, I met up with Neptune, who was waiting for me. Walking halfway to him, he asked, "What's up?" Neptune. It was really strong. Rita. Yep, I wouldn't be able to defeat it as cleanly as you. Neptune. He is even stronger than you are. What's up with that? Rita. It wasn't like that previously. Neptune. I slightly nodded. Inside the dungeon where the monster looks like a human, I imagine many patterns from it, but there is one thing in common. It's what makes it a monster. Is it a shadow, slime, or a gas type? Rita. It's shadow. Neptune. Neptune replied. How did he know? But there is no need to ask him. He has an abundance of knowledge when it comes to exploring dungeon. As a veteran adventurer, I couldn't possibly know about the things in this world more than him, besides the game knowledge that I have in my past life. When I first entered the dungeon, they were all shadow-type monsters. Then, after defeating all of them in one hit, they became like that. Neptune. Then how is it stronger than you afterwards? Rita. This is my hypothesis. Neptune. I nodded for him to continue. It's probably the strongest version of me. Neptune. So your absolute limit? Rita. I guess it's a version of me whose ability is at its peak. Since I've experienced it before, I could know its power to a certain extent. Neptune. Yeah, I get you. It does seem that way. Rita. Yeah, that's why he's the strongest version of me, thus stronger than me. Neptune. I see now. Now I get why you needed my help. Rita. Neptune again chuckled. Just a heads up, the second and third floor are Ilandran, though they're not as strong as the first floor. Neptune. Is that so? Rita. Since the both of them backed me up while I was fighting, and without me they can't function. Neptune. Rita. Leah suddenly popped up in my mind. Though she's a human, but she was remodeled into what the previous owner wanted her to be. Did you do something weird to them? Rita. It's not like what you're imagining. Neptune. Then? Rita. I narrowed my eyes as I questioned him once more. It's not what I thought. Which means he still did something. I just kissed them and have sex with them, that's all. Neptune. What? Rita. Now this was a shocker. What the hell is he even saying? As I said, I kissed. Neptune. Stop. As I said, the hell are you even talking about? Rita. We're all bound by faith, both Ran and Ril. That is the form of our love. Neptune. Yeah, alright, I got it. Rita. My head's aching, and I placed my hand out, indicating for him to stop talking. Well, it's true that it wasn't what I was thinking. Moreover, they're like inseparable. I got it. So what's the fourth floor and above? Rita. I didn't reach that far. Neptune. Alright. Rita. Just be careful. If the shadow takes your form, Era. Neptune. Rita. Look. Neptune. Neptune rolled up his sleeves. There's a shape mark lined up like a tattoo. Counting them, there were 8 stars in total. What are those? Rita. There were 12 of them before, and it has been that way. Neptune. So 4 of them are missing, and I did defeat 4 monsters just now. Rita. I see what it is. Neptune. Neptune smiled, and I nodded. We didn't need any explanation to know what it was, so it's like that. Rita. Yeah, I figured as much. Neptune. If it reaches 0, then that'll be bad. Neptune. Indeed. Rita. But if you turn it around, Neptune, it'll be safe if you leave 1. Rita. I nodded. Yep, it is indeed the correct choice to ask for your help. I wouldn't be able to figure out if I was alone. Neptune. Let's leave the rest. I'll try to reduce to 2. Contact me immediately if something's wrong with our theory. Rita. It's true that we don't want to leave 1 left. Neptune. You know it as well. Rita, I wonder. You're indeed a wonderful person. Neptune, just to check with you once more. Both Ril and Ran has 12 as well, right? Rita, yep. Neptune, okay. Rita, then, I'll leave it to you. Neptune took the topic really seriously. If the star really does decrease from 1, why don't you do it? Rita, ha, since you're doing it, I don't have to fiddle around anymore. Neptune trusted me, although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 296 hours. By the time I returned to the mansion, it was already night time. Welcome back, Nano Desu. Emily. The first person came running to the entrance was Emily. I'm back. Sorry for coming home so late. Rita. It took some time to get home, so the sun has already set long ago. Dinner time has long since passed, and it's time for people to watch their favorite program during golden time. Do you want to eat now, Desu? Emily. I'm going to rest for today. Rita. Saying that, I exhaled the air that has accumulated in my lungs. I feel that my fatigue has healed thanks to the warm and bright mansion that is being maintained by Emily at all times. Yoda-san. Emily. What's up? Rita. I was surprised when Emily suddenly hugged me. As natural as breathing, I kneeled down to be the same height as her, as she stroked my head. Good job out there, Nano Desu. Emily. I didn't really work that hard. Rita. Is the new dungeon troublesome, Nano Desu? Emily. Well, I guess it kinda is. It's because the first floor is already a monster that is a doppelganger of Neptune, and what's more, it's way stronger than him. Rita. That is indeed troubling, Nano Desu. Emily. When she said that, she continued stroking the back of my head. I finally calmed down, and my fatigue was blown away. Yoda-san, I wish that you don't always push yourself, Desu. Emily. Did I make a painful face? Rita. Yoda-san is kind, Desu. Emily. With a straightforward answer, I thought that it was apparent. When Neptune's in trouble, I want to help him. Thinking of ways to help ease his burden, I was stuck contemplating on how I should go about it during the trip back. You're showing the same face back when I first met you, Yoda-san. Nano Desu. Emily. Sorry for worrying. Rita. I'm sure Yoda-san would know what to do, just don't be too hard on yourself, no Desu. Emily. I got it, I'll keep that in mind. Rita. Then that's good, Desu. Emily. While being in that pose for a while, Emily finally released me. When she took her distance, she maintained her usual gentle smile. The next day, after chatting with Plumbum, I went back to the first floor of Tenain. There were lots of Neptune doppelgangers roaming around, and I had to use repetition to defeat them. However, I have to be mindful of the star thing, so there's a limit in which I can fight. Thus, I decided to head up a floor. My goal would be the 4th floor today. Dodging and avoiding any unnecessary fights, I headed towards the staircase. On the way, a Neptune appeared out of nowhere, and I used the maxed out strengthening bullet with the restrained bullet to keep it stunned to buy me enough time to escape. I was sweating. Even with the maxed out restrained bullet, it took no less than 3 seconds for it to release the binding. A maxed out Neptune is scary. Finally, I approached the staircase going upwards, and onto the 2nd floor. Immediately, I encountered Monster. It was a pretty girl with green hair. It's one of Neptune's partners, Ran Hydrogen. Ran and her pickaxe disappeared fast. Rita. I rolled on the floor and avoided it. The pickaxe that was supposed to hit me was smashed towards the ground, splitting it in half. So she uses this weapon when she fights alone. Rita. This is fearsome as she has the power and speed. Even though it's such a simple movement, with such incredible power and speed, this can be considered a threat. If we wanna compare, she can be equivalent to a dungeon master. But Rita. I stepped on the ground, accelerated myself and narrowed the distance between us. I raised my arms into a guarding position and guarded the handle of the pickaxe. Emily would have smashed me with just her handle. Rita. Thinking of the similarity of their weapons, I took one step forward and fired point blank with the growth bullet. Though I've nurtured this bullet to the point where I can one-hit KO monsters, her defense is also high. Just like a hammer, She struck again with the pickaxe. As expected, she didn't fall with just that. I kicked myself backwards as she swung her pickaxe again. I barely avoided the tip of the pickaxe, then continued firing bullets. After a total of 10 shots, she was finally defeated. Pawn. The sound of item dropping was heard. I wonder what it is. It's a black watermelon. Now that's something unusual. Rita. What Ran dropped was a round watermelon with a shining black coating on it. Although it's a watermelon, it felt like a luxury item, and judging by its appearance, it might cost around 10k yen. Even the first floor drops Matsu take. Does this dungeon specialize in dropping fine ingredients? Rita. I took the watermelon and went back down to the first floor. Then, using the transfer gate, I returned to the mansion. As mentioned, the condition of the transportation room is that you can go to any floor that you've been to, but you have to go back to that specific floor if you want to return. For the time being, I would prefer having an escape route if things go south. By the way, the black watermelon was handed to Elsa and Dina. Then, I used the room immediately to get to the second floor of Tenain. Since I don't want to reduce the stars as well, I decided to head to the third floor immediately. On the third floor, it was yet another beautiful girl, but this time with long pink hair. However, her costume was that of a bondage outfit, and she was holding a whip. She reminds me of a queen. Real Hydrogen. Both of them were recognized by the Dungeon of Hydrogen, and was given the nickname GHH. Rita. I reacted late. When I saw her hand moved for a moment, something wrapped around my neck. The next moment, it was the whip that she was using. I immediately used my arms to pull the whip, so that she doesn't strangle me to death. Real herself was pulling her hands as well, which dragged me towards her direction. What power! Rita. I shouted as I fired a growth bullet at the whip. The whip itself wasn't particularly strong, so it tore with a single shot. However, without even a second, another whip came flying in front of me. I avoided it by dropping all fours, then kicked the ground to close the distance. Apparently she can regenerate another whip out of will. This time, I changed the bullet to the flaming bullet. I fired a homing bullet which hits the whip. The whip was torn, but immediately regenerated again. So it's those kind. Rita. This time she uses both hands to control the whip. I fired another shot which tore the whip. The strength of the whip isn't a big deal. However, she can't move while it's regenerating? Rita. Doing it 3 times, I can see a pattern. Her power and techniques are great, but with no weapon, she's not all that powerful. I aimed for the whip again, fired it before it completely regenerated. If I keep breaking the whip, she would remain in a stun lock state. Then, I fired a growth bullet which I switched in between. Though she was tough like Ran, but it was an easy victory as she was standing there doing nothing. What dropped next was, Are those caviar? Rita. This confirms the theory of Tenain being a dungeon that drops luxurious foods. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 297. Tenain, 4th floor. After defeating both Ran and Ril, I left them and went up to the 4th floor, and they already appeared. Rita. In front of me was a shadow monster that seems to be floating. From what Neptune said, I would have to defeat it first. The shadow started coming towards me. Looking at how fast it was going, it's at around C speed. I easily avoided it and fired a growth bullet from the side. Without any resistance, the shadow was defeated easily. The drop is, nothing. If it drops now, I won't have to do much work. Rita. I knew that it wouldn't be that easy, so I bitterly smiled. The shadow form is quite weak. It's weak enough that I can farm it without doing much. However, nothing dropped. If that's the case, it means I did not meet the condition of the item dropping. For example, the parent-child slime. Nothing drops when you defeat the child slime. I guess the shadow monster has the same concept as that. I walked a little and wandered around, when I immediately encountered a different shadow. This time, I turned into a defense position. With my HP, stamina and mentality at SS, I activated Absolute Rock as well, and even have my revolver loaded with the infinite recovery bullet at all time. In that state, I waited for the shadow to attack. It came and attacked. I took it up front, like a lamp leaking out smoke. the shadow slowly shaped into a person. Then, the shadow turned into an exact replica of me. It was holding two revolvers on both hands. No matter how you look at it, it's an exact copy of me, different from Ryo-sama. The only thing different is the expressionless face he has. Then it disappeared. That's fast. Rita. I cross-guarded, and was blown away even with my invincible mode. The power is similar to mine, and he even used magic which I don't often use. The magic was also amplified. It was crazy. The damage penetrated through the invincible mode. I guess it's natural. Rita, I shouted as I took some distance. I did defeat the absolute rock even when it was in its invincible mode. Thus, I cancelled it because it makes me slow and I can't fight back. I held my revolver to fight back, firing a homing bullet before rushing to his blind spot and held my fist. What? Rita, I tried to swing my fist, he disappeared. The moment I knew where he went, a shock pierced my body. My sense of gravity was lost, and I could feel blood accumulating at my lips. All I know is that I was blown away at an incredible speed. Rita, I regained my posture midair and fired a trash bullet to kill my momentum. Upon landing, something spilled on the ground. It was my blood. Blood was spewing from my mouth, as I took damage with that blow. This is no doubt. His power and speed are higher than me. As Neptune said, it's even stronger than the original person. Looking at it, I laughed. I don't know why, but I laughed. I'm truly thankful, Tenain. Rita, I don't know whether the spirit could hear it, but I thanked this dungeon. As Neptune has concluded, the doppelgangers are your limit. I thought so as well, because I'm still halfway to SS. I can still be strong. Rita, I continued pursuing. I held my gun and fired 2 bullets at the same time. The bullets merged into a penetration bullet. I've decided, when battling with someone superior, a decision has been made in an instant. Before even firing the penetration bullet, I fired a speed-up bullet on myself. I was way faster than I was, and I sneaked into his side as he tried to avoid the bullet. I won't let you. Rita, I saw that he was trying to fire a bullet at me. In the accelerating world, his speed is similar to that of a normal human movement. Because of such a reaction, I knew I had to compete with him in the accelerated world, and it paid off, as I could dispel his revolver. When the revolver flew up into the ceiling, I grabbed his arm and held it. I knew what had to be done. I grabbed him, hit his revolver, then punch him. By repeating that, I could accumulate damage. TSK. Rita, I got counterattacked. Even when in the accelerated world, I was hit by a well-thought-out counterattack. Not giving up, I concentrate even more and take advantage of the speed to defeat him unilaterally. In between fight, he wanted to enter invincible mode, but I stopped it. After a mere 30 seconds, it was like a storm as I had to face someone who has higher HP and stamina. But I somehow bested him. I managed to defeat myself, which Neptune could not fulfill. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 298. Inside the mansion's salon at night, Neptune came to visit during near midnight. Then, I rolled my sleeves up and showed him my arm. There were 11 perfectly lined up. He mentioned that there was a maximum of 12. And right now, I'm only left with 11 because I recently defeated one. You're honestly just surprising me each and every time. Neptune was unusually praising me with a serious tone. Usually when he asks for help, or when he would strike up a conversation with me, he would give this dignified look. But right now, he's genuinely admiring me. Really? Rita, I wasn't surprised when you've defeated my fake, but to be able to defeat. Yeah. He was incredibly strong. There was a tad difference between our abilities. Rita, which was true. I had to dive into acceleration world just to be able to keep up with his speed. Of course he'll be stronger. It's always a paper-thin chance of facing someone that is way higher level than you. Neptune, I know, right? Rita, I totally agreed. Just to be clear, I've fought with Ran and Ril once as well. Rita, I know. Don't worry about it. But did you notice something else? Neptune, they're both strong, that's for sure. Rita, that as well, but don't you think that that's because they have the ability to achieve it, hence why they're that strong? Neptune, what do you mean by that? Rita. Neptune happily smiled. When I was fighting with my doppelganger, it was around 100 to 90 scale. Neptune, that's about right. For Ril and Ran, it was around 100 to 1. Neptune, why would you assume as such? Rita, as I said, it's their innate talent. Since they've both threw away their abilities to fight head-on, and instead chose to support me. Even for you, if you didn't become an adventurer, I'm sure you would obtain some other talent, right? Neptune. You're right. Rita. I bitterly smiled. If I didn't become an adventurer, no wait, if I didn't came to this other world, I'll probably still be overworking for the company, and await my death march. Eating would just be a chore, and my eyes would form black circles because of the lack of sleep. To put it simply, I've maxed out on my physical strength, as that is my main way of fighting, but I could still use magic to improve myself. Basically what they have there is. Rita. Yes, if they focus more on fighting, that's what they would become. Neptune. I see now. Rita. Are you going to follow me tomorrow? Neptune. Yeah, I want to climb another 2 to 3 stairs. Also, I'm using the transportation room to go so I won't have to face all the monsters below. Rita. Ahaha. I'm glad I asked for your help. You really give me a sense of relief. Now I'm starting to feel what others felt when they were saved by you. Neptune. I wonder. Rita. That I wouldn't know. Gone! Exclamation mark dash. A huge bell sound resonated from outside the mansion. It's to signify that the day has changed. Well then, it's getting late, so I should head home as well. Neptune. If there's anything you need help, just call me. Rita. Alright. Likewise. Neptune. Don't worry, I'll call you when I need it. Rita. Ahaha, you're starting to act like my boss. Roger, boss. Neptune. My family doesn't operate like that, okay? Rita. Seems that way. Neptune. Exchanging handshakes, Neptune left from the back of my mansion. Knock knock. Before he left, someone knocked on the door. The door opened, and Emily entered, and she was pushed behind. Emily? Rita. Awawa. Emily. The two that pushed Emily aside was Ril and Ran. Are you alright, Emily? Rita. Something terrible has happened, Nikon. Ril. What's wrong, Ril? Ran? Neptune. Look at this. Ril said as she rolled her sleeves and showed her arm. Similar to us. She has the stairs lined up perfectly. What was important was after this. It's lesser than before? Neptune. Yeah. Ril. Even mine as well. Look. Ran too showed her arm. What's going on? Mew. Neptune. What's wrong, Neptune? Rita. Even mine is lessening. Neptune. What the? Rita. We looked at Neptune's arm. All of the doppelganger were defeated. Ones? Rita. Yeah, same with Ril and Ran. Neptune. However, mine didn't decrease. Rita. In a hurry, I checked mine as well, but it didn't decrease. Both of us started thinking, and both of us lifted our heads up in perfect sync. It decreased because the days have changed? Rita. Is it because the day has changed? Neptune. Both of us answered in unison. Since we both have lots of experience with these kinds of things, we came to a conclusion at the same time. The problem now is, would it continue to decrease? Neptune. Or does it start from now, where every day it would decrease by 1? Rita. We both agreed. To answer our theory, we waited for another day, when the clock strikes 12, and all 3 of Neptune and his partner automatically decreased by 1 star. Unknowingly, it started counting down without us doing anything. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 299. Tenna in 5th floor. Since it's my first time on this floor, I just sat there and waited. Also, I brought a friend with me. After some time, the transfer gate opened, and out came Mike, the unique monster. Mike then carried a slime as big as her. Actually, it feels like she's carrying crates. The slime couldn't budge at all. Sorry for the wait, it took some time catching one from Tararu. Mike, don't mind, and thanks for helping. Rita. Saying that, I took the slime from Mike, then used a restrained bullet to keep the slime at bay. As you remember, Mike is a unique monster which can bring anything from inside the dungeon outside without any consequences, and Mike is the only unique monster who can do that. Because she helped bring Orem around dungeons, she is now dubbed Mike Orem. Rita-sama, what do you want to do with that child? Mike, watch and see. Rita, leaving the caught slime in place, I fired another restrained bullet just in case the previous one breaks, and moved away to a safe distance with Mike. Then, the shadow monster appeared and swayed side to side towards the slime. The slime wanted to attack, but couldn't as its spine did, so, the shadow monster attacked the slime instead. Since slimes are weak, I had to heal the slime every time the shadow attacks the slime. Following up with the recovery bullet, the slime managed to escape death every single time. Soon after, the shadow took shape. Mike, I'll leave the slime to you. Stay at where I can see you. Rita, I understand, leave it to me. Mike, I went towards the doppelganger slime, and let Mike grab the original slime. I also realized that there's 12 on tattooed on the body of the slime. What's up with today? Well, I wanted to find out what happens if all 12 stars were to disappear. As a bonus, I can get the drop from the slime, and I can also find out what would drop for this floor. Seeing that Mike is holding the slime tightly, I went, you Rita. The slime in front of me became distorted, and leapt towards me at a tremendous rate. Both its speed and strength can't be compared to the doppelganger of Neptune, but it's at least an E-rank slime. I fired a growth bullet at it, but it dodged as if it was nothing. It then retreated, then jumped as high as a human's head, and inhaled its body twice the size of a human body. Soon after, it spit fire, similar to how a dragon spews fiery blaze through its mouth. Wow! Rita, I reacted by firing both freezing bullets to block the fire. Both chemicals reacted, and hot steam covered the entire area. Already expecting that outcome, I kicked the ground and covered the distance between the slime, using the steam as a smoke screen. Since I know about its strength and speed, it's time to test its defense. Using my fist instead of the revolver, I punched it. The body of the slime was hard, and it felt like a hard rubber ball. So the endurance is around B? Rita. The place where I punch it made an indentation, but it soon recovered with glittering light surrounding it. I can't believe the slime can even heal itself. Well, it's obvious as this is the limit of a slime. Since I'm done with evaluating its skills, it's time to get serious. I rushed the slime once again with both revolvers, firing normal bullets at it. Then, I fired the trash bullet at 8 different directions, aiming towards it. This was a method I thought of a while ago. The slime that has been solidified from all direction is stuck, and gradually its body started breaking apart. Although it takes some time, but it's basically a better version of a restrained bullet. This method is like jamming 8 nails that can never be peeled off. After some time, the slime was defeated by the pressure of the bullet. The drop was a lump of something white. Mike approached slowly after the battle was over. What is that? Mike, it looks like truffles. Rita, I've only seen these things on the internet, so it took me a few seconds to figure out what it was. Anyways, what's the situation with the star? Rita, it went down by 1. Mike, alright, let's continue. Rita, I understand. Mike, we leisurely walked around the floor, defeating slimes with repetition. I can slowly see the star decreasing more and more, and finally, we are left with 1 more star to go. Repetition. Rita, after defeating the last slime doppelganger, the original slime star turned 0. I was prepared for what would happen, but nothing happened. We waited for a while, but then another slime came, and I defeated it with repetition. Is this a bluff? Rita, it seems to be that way. Mike, I don't believe that nothing happened. Rita, it's hard to believe. This number 12, and why would it decrease every time you defeat one of its doppelganger, as if counting down on something? I'm absolutely certain there's a catch to this. Seems like nothing has changed. Mike, release that slime. Rita, okay. Mike released the slime, and it attacked me with what seemed like an angry face. Guarding the attack, the power remains the same old Duraru slime. What is going on here? Rita, how should we deal with the slime? Mike. The slime immediately ran away the moment Mike came to me. Wait, Mike. Mike frantically chased after the slime, and I followed suit. The slime continued till we reached the staircase down to the 4th floor, where it finally made contact with it. But no matter how many times it tried going down, it bounced back. It's as though there's an invisible wall on the staircase. After catching up with Mike and seeing such a sight, I decided to look at it. Maybe Rita, eh? Mike. When all the stars disappear, the original becomes a princess trapped inside a dungeon. Or something? Rita. That was my guess when I saw the original slime not being able to leave. Although I am only level 1, but with this unique skill, I am the strongest. Chapter 300. Looking at the slime trying its best to go down the staircase but failed, I spoke to Mike. Can you try picking it up and see whether it can leave? Rita. I got it. Mike. Mike then ran towards it. When the slime realized that Mike was closing in, it tried to attack Mike, but failed because she just opened her arms and grabbed the slime. Let's see whether they can go down with this. I can't go down as well, Rita-sama. Mike, she reported with a slightly troubled look. Mike herself could go to any of the floors, but with the slime, it's as if it's pulling her back to the floor. What did it feel like? Rita. It's as though there's an invisible wall that's blocking us from going. Mike. I see. Right. Try using the transfer gate and see. Rita. I'll try it now. Mike. Mike then went up a floor and went inside the transfer gate, but when she arrived at the same floor and tried bringing the slime back, it was the same result. It's impossible, Rita-sama. It's the same feeling as before. Mike. Alright, we can stop now. Rita. Following what I said, she brings the slime back to me. It's time to try out one last thing. Receiving the slime from Mike, I tried bringing it out on my own. Then, it felt like an invisible wall was pushing me back. My hand managed to slip past, but it could only go as far as the palm of my hands, and it's an odd sensation. I tried firing the trash bullet towards the slime who is near the staircase. As usual, it moves at its own pace, and when it reaches the slime's body, it dents the body, but it still couldn't get past the staircase. Rita. A pop sound was heard. Whoops, I overdid it. Being sandwiched by the invisible wall and the trash bullet, the slime couldn't resist it much longer, and it exploded. You accidentally defeated it. Mike. Aw shucks. Rita. I bitterly laughed. I wonder what happens now though. Mike. Now that you mention. Rita. When the slime is copied, it can't get out of that floor if the stars runs out. So what happens to the doppelganger slimes if the original slime is defeated? I immediately walked around with Mike to find out, and it was clear what happens. Instead of the copied slimes, they reverted back to shadow monsters. Seems like they returned back to their original form. Rita. It seems like it. Mike. Let's test it one more time. Rita. Should I go and catch another one? Mike. It's alright. I have a faster method. Rita. I took one normal bullet out and threw it far away from where we were. After a while, the rogue monster slime was hatched. I caught it, went around and find another shadow monster, then released it to let them duel. I wanted to test it out on the slimes again, however, they didn't change. Mike. Seems like it. Rita. Even after supporting the slime with the recovery bullet, the shadow did not take into the shape of the slime. Don't tell me. I knew you simply amuse me. During my third test, Neptune came to visit me as we have the cockroach slimes roaming about. It must be the original monster, or it won't work. That's why it cannot copy a rogue monster. I wouldn't have guessed it if I were to explore it normally. First of all, we wouldn't know for sure whether it turns into the fake version of the monster. Neptune, it's not my power, but Mike's. Rita. I'm sure that kid wouldn't have came to life if it wasn't thanks to you. Neptune. Neptune said with a smile on his face. Mike is one of the unique monsters that I created when using the Bodor. Rita. So, I see that you've tested out some stuff, so any additional information you've found? Neptune. With that question, I thought about what to report to him before answering. First, if the shadow attacks either a human or an original monster, it will copy them. Second, if all 12 stars disappears, the original will never be able to leave the floor. Rita, what if they are not in their respective floor? Neptune, I naturally thought of Neptune's question, as our concerning factor is that we have our doppelgangers from the first till the fourth floor. I have Mike bring the monster back to the mansion, and after defeating all 12 of the doppelgangers, they will be forcibly summoned here. Rita, so they do. Neptune, but because they're monsters, they disappear the moment they arrive. Rita, I see now, they're not supposed to leave their floor, let alone their dungeons in the first place. Neptune, which means, you're forever trapped once the stars are gone. But there's no conclusive evidence. Rita, if that were really the case. Neptune, then? Rita, in the future, we might need to recruit people to work permanently in the dungeon. Neptune, huh? Ah, so that's what you mean. Rita, I did not think of that. I came to Tenna in the first place to help Neptune out, and Neptune came here to investigate the productions of this dungeon. Both of us came here for a different reason, so we have difference in ideas. You're right, from what we've gathered thus far, we do need someone with low fighting power, and someone who can stay in the dungeon for all eternity. Rita, with that sort of condition, I guess it can be done if the pay is extremely high. Since the quality of the drops are top-notch. Since they can't leave their floor, we need to guarantee a safe and comfortable place to live. Neptune, which means we have to collect taxes, but then, Rita, my eyes widen. I don't know why, but it was wide open. What's wrong? Neptune, I moved without saying anything. I went to where Mike was, who was at a safe location safeguarding the cockroach slime, and defeated it, reverting the monsters on the 5th floor back to the shadow monsters. Then, I took the drowsy slime and let it out to the shadow. After attacking a few times, they all turned to drowsy slimes, defeating 6 of them. The original has half of its stars left. Mike, help me take this drowsy slime for a while. Rita, okay. Mike, what are trying to do? Rita, Neptune was walking beside me, having them following me without paying them mind. We went up to the 6th floor. The 6th floor has dungeon snow. Encountering a shadow immediately, I asked Mike to release the drowsy slime, and the shadow attacked the drowsy slime. Then, the original drowsy slime, which was supposed to only have 6 stars, now has 12 stars, a maximum of 12. Don't tell me. Neptune, yep. Rita, we went back to the 5th floor again. The doppelganger drowsy slimes all returned back to shadows. Amazing, you never fail to amaze me. Neptune, to not allow the stars to drop to 0, we can just go to a different floor and refill the stars again. Knowing that that method exists, I breathed a sigh of relief.